Hey guys, welcome back to Themis and Thought. Grab your coffee, water, tea, whatever you're drinking, go and get that. Today we have a lot to talk about. I actually don't know the order. I'm going to put this in, but we'll figure that out together. I want to apologize for being late. Let me know if you guys can hear me. Welcome, Cantor, TS, Yazzie, Ying Yang, Golden Lady, Deanne. Thank you all for being here. Before we do the intro, before I play the intro video, I want to say something from my heart to yours. Um, I I recognize that the way that I do live stream and content creation might be a bit different than other people. Maybe it's not that different. Maybe I just haven't watched enough people. But I apologize if it feels like I require a lot from the audience. I recognize that a lot of us watch YouTube, myself included, to be passively involved and not to actually have to think and anything like that. And I think that's okay. That's okay if you're watching this content that way. I love it. Love that for you. But I think when you come on, right, I cannot just accept um, rhetoric that are obviously untrue or aren't consistent with research, right? And so the reason I push back, right? The reason I push back when people are talking is because one, I don't want to be on here forever. I mean, I feel like that every single time. But two, I want people who come on to think more critically about what it is that they're saying. And I realize that a lot of men who come on are upset. They leave with a bad taste in their mouth. And I've gotten enough comments now for me to address the idea that I am harsh on men. And I don't I don't I don't intend to be harsh on men who come on here, right? But when a young man, an older man, whatever age they are, comes on and say women are responsible for their abuse, right? I am sorry, I cannot just let that slide, right? When people come on and ignore stats, I can't let that slide. I had a young lady who came up and said that Black femicide wasn't real. And I remember pushing back against that young lady. Now, I recognize that men who come on want to be treated like females or women. And okay, I will attempt to treat you like females and women, or whatever. I will attempt to do that. But you also now have a responsibility to act like the women who come on. Because the women who come on, they stop talking when I am talking specifically to them. Now, there's usually some disruption here and there, but they'll allow me to speak and they will be responsive to my prompt. And I just want you guys to do the same. So I will treat you guys as women, if that's what you want. I would and not treat you like women. I feel like that's a bit pejorative. I will treat you guys the way that I treat women, equality of the sexes over here. But just know that I will not let you filibuster, I will not let you ramble on, and I will not let you derail the conversation because it seems that's what you're here to do. You cannot be upset when women come on who agree with me and we're having a pleasant conversation. We already agree. You disagree with me. So when you come on and you disagree, obviously there's going to be some level of push back, right? And I don't mind you pushing back against me, but we have to do so respectfully. And you have to answer my question. Now, if you feel like I'm asking you a question and I don't allow you to speak, you can let me know. I'm laughing because I just saw a comment that like that was the funniest thing in the world. Um, you can let me know and I will let you explain. I promise you, I will give you time uninterrupted at some point, but you will not be allowed to use that to be abusive. All right. So I just wanted to say that. Now, if men come on and they do not feel comfortable, it's okay. You don't have to come up. I'm not telling you to come up here. But if you do come up here, be ready to get some pushback. This is not an echo chamber. Demas doesn't cuddle the women, though. Men, is this the life y'all want to live? I mean, period. All right. So I have a special guest. And when I play the intro and come back, one of my favorite people in the world is here with me today. I'm so excited. She is she is my rock. She probably is going to be mad I said that. No, she's my flower and I have to water her and take care of her. She's not a rock. She is a delicate little flower. I'm kidding. She's been here before. Vanessa, she is like literally the best person in the world. Her and I are going to be traveling a lot, and she posts a lot of her travels on her Instagram. I probably should give you guys her Instagram at some point. But she's the best. She is literally the best. Let's start the video. Hey.
Hi. I was like, rock, flower, what?
No, so I was going to say rock because of, yeah, Beyonce. Someone said it's Beyonce. I was like, no, I don't like that, because even though you would give me outlines in law school and you would help me in law school, I didn't like the idea of saying a rock. So
you like flower watering. What's going on? I don't think either of these are accurate.
How are you? Someone said Hafiz. Absolutely.
Someone said what?
It's someone that I talk about. I hope you guys remember her, Vanessa.
It's been a while. It's been a long time.
Oh, by the way, on my Instagram, or on your Instagram, one of our Instagram, I'm going to your condo on Sunday, and I'm cooking. Don't pretend like you don't know. You invited me over to cook.
No. You said last week you were going to do that, and then you did it at your own place. You didn't tell me you were going to do it this year. You are more than happy to come. But I don't know if you said this. I thought we were supposed to do it last week, but then you did it at your own place.
Yeah, because I might have had COVID at the time, so I didn't want to give it to you. Yes. But
I'm down. It'll be clean. It'll be clean and nice and ready for you to cook. So I'm ready to eat. I won't be helping with the cooking, but I will help with the eating.
Well, you can help entertain people on Instagram.
Okay, I'm down.
All right, before we get into the congratulations for the new justice to the Supreme Court, I have some mess that I wanted to share with you. And everyone else. So let's talk about jury duty.
So oh.
Let's talk about how to get out of jury duty. Let me play this. For anyone who haven't seen this video, it is the best thing on the internet right now. But let's watch.
So you said that there's dates in July that you're not available. What are those dates?
July 7th, July 4th, which is closed, and July 18th. But then again, I need to figure out something. I have my sugar daddy that I see every day.
I'm sorry?
My sugar daddy.
Okay, I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about. But
well, I'm married and I have my sugar daddy. Okay. And I see him every day.
All right, and we'll come back to you. So you.
Period. And what about it? And what about it? She cannot do her jury duty because she has her sugar daddy and her husband. I don't know if they're the same people.
I think they're different people. I got the sense that there was a husband and a sugar daddy.
Period.
Besides
That
that.
so she does not have time for jury duty.
One of the reasons why I'm like, so I clerked on federal court. I'm like, sometimes I wish I had done state court because I think those kind of interesting moments only really happen in state court. Because I can't imagine someone saying that.
Oh, I can. When I was clerking, I saw it all the time.
Oh, really? Ugh, I did not have characters like that. No, that would have been so
Actually,
great.
I think that's a good thing. Oh, Marina became a member. Welcome. I didn't see that. I'm sorry. I usually call it out. So is her accent Jamaican? I need consensus. No, she's not Jamaican. She does have an accent.
She didn't
Oh,
have an accent.
the lady in the video.
The lady in the
Lady in
video definitely had an accent.
Yeah,
I don't
she
know.
sounded Jamaican to me too. And
Oh,
if
did
she's
she?
Jamaican, to me, I mean, I don't know, but she sounded Jamaican. And if she's Jamaican, period, you better have a husband and a sugar
And a
daddy.
sugar daddy, and be comfortable saying it to the judge. Like, you couldn't say something else. Like, oh, I have.
No, she said, I'm here to tell the truth, the whole
Yes.
truth, and nothing but the truth.
As you should when you are. Yes, as you should. They may even make you take like an oath. So as you should. I'm not saying lie. I'm just saying that.
You and I have had discussions. By the way, she's the one who pushed. We'll talk about clerkship in a minute when we talk about the judge. But you and I have had conversations about Will Smith before. And this came out, and it says Will Smith is barred from the Academy events for 10 years over Chris Rock's slap on stage. So Will Smith cannot go to any of the Academy's functions for 10 years. How old is Will Smith? I don't know.
Isn't he in his 40s?
Oh, so he has time.
Or late 40s, early 50s? I don't actually know. I'll do a little Google search. Does this also mean that I'm assuming he can't vote either, right? Because one of the things when you win an Oscars and you become part of the Academy, you're able to then vote on like who wins. So I'm assuming, he's 53. He is much older than that.
Well, maybe. So, all right. I don't want to beat this because we can hurry up and get past this, but what do you think about this punishment? Yeah, she's an attorney. She is the attorney. She is like one of the most brilliant attorneys in the world. She is that girl, period. But go ahead.
You're so ridiculous. I was one of the people, I feel like I was one of the minority of Black folks who thought the slap was like just too much and like wasn't equal amount of force to the force that was put onto Jada. I felt like the verbal abuse wasn't okay, but I thought the slap was escalating it. So I was in that group, but I personally think that the punishment is a bit harsh for what happens, but I'm also someone who thinks that in the US we're so quick to do punitive things. I would have liked to see something a bit more restorative, a little bit of restorative justice here. I would have liked to see Chris Rock and Will Smith be able to come together and have a conversation publicly, because Will Smith did his actions publicly, and like have the victim kind of be able to speak about what he needed to feel whole, and maybe have him even apologize for the joke if he felt like sorry about it afterwards. I would have preferred something that was more healing than punitive. 10 years is a really long time. And so I guess I was a bit surprised by just how long that is. But at the same time, it's like he slapped someone, he assaulted someone at, the Oscars. So I mean, I understand at work, right?
Yeah.
I understand
So
the need for
so we talk a lot about protecting Black women, right? Also protecting your wealth and stuff. But he's at work. He's an actor. This is a part of his job in my mind, right? And so you're at work and you act up. Obviously, there's disciplinary action. My thing is, it went way too far. But I don't really care about them people. I don't really care about the Oscars. I don't really care what they do. We need our own thing anyway. I don't care. All right, fine. And they were boycotting some year before. It's fine.
Well, they were boycotting when he wasn't nominated.
let's not talk about that. Right? So like I really don't care about that. What I do want to think about though more broadly is, what does protection look like? Because I think the conversation online, a lot of people in the BWE space find this to be what they want. And a friend of mine who shall not be named said, this is some hood protection. This is not how you protect Black women, particularly when you have power and resource. If you are protecting people like this, it's the hood form of protection. They could understand if Chris Rock was Jada's wife, Jada's husband, if Chris Rock was with Jada,
Okay.
and did not have the kind of power and leverage in Hollywood that Will Smith had. And he slapped Will Smith for making fun of his wife. But because
Okay.
Will Smith has the power to literally end Chris's career, he did not have to slap him. He could have used power the way that most people use power, right? And so the question is my question to you is this hood is this hood protection, and is this the protection that y'all want?
I feel like, I mean, people have suggested it is like, oh, he's from Philly. I feel like that has a certain connotation to it, right? So I mean, yeah, I think that there's definitely the suggestion that this is like how you do it in the hood. I think that what you said was interesting to me, because I almost feel like it's the opposite. I think because Will Smith has power, he felt like he could do what he did with no consequences. I think if it was reversed, Chris Rock would probably not feel like he could comfortably slap someone who was bigger and more, known and well liked than him. So I actually think that cuts the other way. But I mean, is it hood protection? Sure. And I think that's why you see such a divide in some people who are like, this is absolutely correct, and that's how it goes. And like, because they may have grown up in a culture where like you will get slapped if you talk some mess. And then some people don't grow up in a culture where that happens. I grew up in a very different, I grew up in a Nigerian culture where Nigerians tend, they can get violent. But they don't usually just start off with a slap. There'll be some warning, right? There'll be some conversation, and you'll know a slap is coming. So for me, I was like, it just seemed so abrupt to go from like laughing at the joke to then.
By the way, I'm not saying Will Smith is hood. Like, let me just clarify that.
I mean, but everyone's like, he's from Philly. So I feel like the insinuation is like, he got it in him, right?
No, but I'm talking more broadly about sort of, I'm with you, by the way. I'm Jamaican, and so they kind of are very aggressive. But when I see this, and people are like, yes, that's what I want, right? And you see the kind of repercussion behind it, right? Where his documentary is getting pulled, or at least it's not a fight over who will promote.
Netflix has paused on him.
Yeah. And then he's resigning from the academy, but also his image is being smirched. Like, it seems like a lot where you could have an impact in the realm of protection without getting physical.
Yeah.
Like, it is
a lot. Although, I mean, to play devil's advocate for like a second, I'm sure some people would say, well, he could have been arrested, right? Like, that could have happened. I mean, it could have. He could have. I mean, although Chris Rock, declined to press charges, and
it is the state versus the man. Chris, all right, go ahead.
I know. We can get into whether or not the police could have. I mean, technically, I think they had sufficient evidence to arrest him, regardless of Chris Rock choosing to press charges. But normally, in just like a domestic, I'm going to call it like situation like that, the cops, if the victim doesn't want to press charges, are not going to push it. But I mean, it could have been worse, right? He could have had criminal prosecution. So I guess to a certain extent, it's like the punishment has all been the academy sort of punishing him at work, right? It's more civil, but I don't know. I just felt like that. I feel like having all of his movies, like whatever projects he's working on, frozen, and 10 years is definitely sufficient. Like, I think he has learned his lesson, and I don't think he will go around slapping anyone anytime soon. I don't think it needed to go to that extent for him to learn his lesson. But
and so people are saying, I would have protected. If it's you, Vanessa, I would have protected you.
You would not have slapped nobody for me.
I would not.
A joke.
I would not have to slap someone to do that. If I have I'm an attorney, so I do
use
have
your
some
words.
level of power. So I am not going to go physically fight someone when I have power in other realm. I'm sorry. Like, I'm going to use power that I know how to use and stay within the bounds of whatever structure I need to stay in to not just secure my life, but other people who trust in me. But I am going to play, like, you're not going to disrespect someone I love. So I am all for standing up. Will Smith standing up for his wife. I am all for it. And I just think that people, like, and this is what I've said. Someone said, oh, you are not masculine and this and that. And I keep saying this. Some of the most masculine, aggressive people are behind bars, kept there by skinny people, old people who do not actually have the physical capacity to hold you there physically, right? We are in a world, in my opinion, where this physical aggression, while it could be useful in some spaces, is not always the route to take. And that's why I call it hood protection. So that's that on that.
Listen, I think it was a little bit of hood protection, and whether or not it was an appropriate time to use hood protection is, people have different opinions on that. I know for me, I definitely don't think I would want my significant other slapping people for saying offensive. I would want them to stand up for me and stick up for me, especially like, you're making fun of a medical condition that I have that I'm clearly still like, dealing with. But I don't think I would want my significant other to slap the person. I think he could have went up there still and, made a comment. I think he could have said something in his acceptance speech. There's so many other ways he could have done it. I think he could have even just said, keep my, my wife's name out your mouth. But I personally, that's not how I want to be protected. But I guess the question is like, what does Jada need and want, right? That's kind of the real question.
Yeah. Life means nothing. People respond differently. However, either of you heard of Amanda Knox? No.
I don't know who that is.
If someone calls me a B or N to my face and my hubby doesn't throw blows, we're getting divorced. The thing is, like, you can wreck someone's entire life without ever touching them physically. And I feel like I feel like emotional regulation is so important for us to move. It's last thing on this. You know how it's difficult sometimes to point out racism because the racism is no longer overt, it's covert, right? It's in the institution. It's the way people say, I am not going to hire you because I don't feel like I can go grab a beer with you, right? It's not as obvious. We are in a world right now where if we don't learn to play the game, I mean, we can say bump the system and fight. Well, if you're for that, then radical revolution.
Anarchy.
I am here for it. If that's what we are saying we should do, then period. Let's do that. But if we're saying we can thrive in the system, and maybe we can, maybe that's your position, then you need to know the rules of the system and how to use that to your advantage to get what you want. Overt showing of strength is not always the best approach to resolve conflict or even to get payback. Like, imagine zeroing out Chris's bank account and him not knowing. Because let me throw Beyonce under the bus for 2 seconds, because that's my queen. I believe Beyonce ended Carrie Hilson's career after Carrie Hilson came out against her, right? But no one can ever prove that because she just did it behind the scenes. She's like, okay, you want to talk? Let's see how you can talk when I have this much power. I think, I'm not saying always.
Sorry, I got a text message on my phone.
Yeah, I'm not saying always do that. I'm just saying there is a way to be tactful about your revenge. And I'm not advocating revenge. Who knows what I'm advocating?
I'm like, what are you advocating?
I'm advocating just having, here it is. In the UK, we have this thing where it's like, have an iron fist in a silk glove. So,
Ooh, I like
period. Like, It is what it is. Let's continue. All right. So Donald Glover, I don't know if you see this, and we're gonna get to because
Was this the interview he did with himself?
Yes.
I'm asking. Okay. I want to make sure I'm on the right topic. All right. Okay.
Yeah. So he brought up in his interview with himself about. By the way, I'm only bringing these up because I actually wanted to talk to you about them,
Okay.
and I get to talk to you about them now before we get into the thing, and you're trapped here with me. So he did an interview with himself. Essentially, I'm not going to read any of that. But he was asking himself, let me find the part about Black women, whether he's afraid of Black women. And he was like, why are you asking me that? And he said, I feel like your relationship to them has played a big part in your narrative. And he goes, I feel like you're using Black women to question my Blackness. All right, are you gonna teach your kids how to be Black? Well, yeah, should someone else? And so he's talking to himself about Blackness and Black womanhood, and he's being questioned about whether or not he's Black enough or Black, or whether or not, because he's married to a white and Asian woman, mixed, whether or not he is even Black. Now, I don't. Dr. Umar Johnson made a tweet, and this is what he said. Childish Gambino's video contained powerful metaphors, but once the contradiction of a white queen surfaced, it diluted his message. Yes, he has a right to discuss the Black experience, but wanting to have the experience with a white woman clearly says he doesn't value it enough. All right. My problem with this is very simple. Why is Donald Glover interviewing himself
Okay. Thank you.
and pretending like someone is asking him about his Blackness? Like, if you have trepidations, if you have issues with yourself, I mean, deal with them. Don't bring us into your foolishness.
So I didn't know he was interviewing himself because I just read the interview. And so there's a part where I don't think you read it, but he says, like, I don't like to talk about race with if the person isn't Black or if we're not laughing. So I thought it was like a white interviewer because of that comment. So I was like, oh, like I can kind of get like him being like, why is this white person asking me all these race questions? But then I started seeing the comments being like, why is he interviewing himself? And I'm like, wait, like, so I was confused. I was very confused. I know he's artistic, you know, and he has that show Atlanta that I never fully understood either. So I was like, his thinking and my thinking don't align. He's a special kind of person. So I can't even get to the like substance because I'm still on confusion about why he's interviewing himself.
I mean, I think a lot of people have this grandiose sense of self. Like, so no one can, we like This Is America. It was a great video.
Great video.
Period. You gave what needs to be gave. Now go home to your wife or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
nobody got, like, I was surprised when I saw that his wife was white based on
Really?
what he was. I was.
I wasn't. I'm never surprised. Like, no, I mean, like, no, because I feel like that's happened a couple times where you have someone who like is a Black man in the community that talks, like, is, you know, talks about race and talks about these issues, and they have a white wife. I feel like it's become very normal, standard.
True, but like
I wouldn't be surprised if Dr. Umar had a secret white wife. Like, I just, you know.
Yeah, we're gonna get to Dr. Umar in a minute. Because Dr. Umar is just a different type of person. But like, I didn't care. I was like, oh, his wife is white. I mean, I didn't know that. I recognize that his wealth now goes to that community, but that's your choice. I don't care who people decide to love. You love who you want to love. I don't care. Why do you keep putting it in our face like anyone asked? Literally, it's so bad. This is so like, it's not even metaphorically. You asked yourself.
Well, my thing is, you asked yourself, but then you didn't answer. So what did we get out of it? At least if you were going to answer it, maybe you were just looking for a way to like express some nuanced thought, but you asked yourself if you're afraid of Black women and then you refuse to answer the question. So now I'm left confused. even more. And now I'm drawing my own conclusions, which I feel like the answer means yes, because you didn't want to answer it. And
You brought up your own question and then decided not to answer your own question.
yeah,
So
so it's like, how can you be deflective for a question you're prepared for?
he wasn't prepared. He was not prepared for the question he asked himself. I can. So, do you believe, just randomly, I love this. I feel like this is a podcast and I'm here for it.
Okay.
Do you believe if a woman is rich and successful,
Oh my God, where is this going?
that if they have a child and the man is no longer there, that the man should pay child support?
Okay, hold on. Woman is rich and successful. They have a child. Should the man pay child support?
The man should pay child support if the child lives with the
Child lives with the mother.
yeah,
Is
only.
it about the Candy situation?
Yes.
And the real life I know I pay attention to pop culture. I know what's going on. I saw
Wait,
that.
pause.
Take it away from that
I have
context.
never called anyone a mammy, ever.
Okay.
I'm just letting you know that I've never done that. But I don't actually know your answer to this.
Here's
And
my
I
answer.
won't call you a mammy ever because I have too much respect and love for you.
Here's my answer.
But
I don't have children, so I've never, been through that process at all. But I believe that child support is supposed to be for the child. And I believe that if you have a child, you have a financial responsibility to that child. So regardless of whatever money the woman has, if you are not raising that child, if that child is not spending time with you, if you're not doing the other things you should be doing as a father, then the very least you should be doing is financially supporting your child. And I don't see why it would matter if your wife is rich on her own because you have a financial obligation. First of all, you should want to be in your child's life. You should want to pay for things. And like, obviously, if you're making significantly less, your child support payments won't be the same as someone who makes a lot. But like, you are responsible for that child regardless. So I would hope that you could work it out outside of the court system. I always hope that people can do that. But if that's the only way that you can support your child at all is by being forced, then it is what it is.
should he apply for custody? The man's
Does he actually want custody?
No, but he wants money. He don't want to play for child support, but he wants money. So to get money from her and apply for child support from her, should he?
Oh, should he apply for custody? I mean, he has every right to apply for custody, and the courts will decide who is the more fit parent for that child to be with. But I mean, I'm here for like being like, I'm going to actually spend time with my kid. I think, like I said, the money is the very least that you do for a child, in my opinion. The very
agreed.
I hate girls not paying my child support.
Because some of these child support checks are $50.
Regardless, finance is only one aspect of it. A child needs love, needs support, needs all these other things. So I'm here for being like, I want, joint custody, but only if you actually intend to be, a parent to that child and raise that child. But yeah, I don't think just because you're significant, well, not significant, you're the person you had a child
but
with.
Aren't women were the first to be created on earth. And so don't you have a responsibility because of your ancestral?
Wait, one thing on the Dr. Umar thing, I was going to say, when I first read his thing about Donald, I was like, ooh, that's rough. But then I remembered when it was Black women marrying white, it was like, this is an abomination. Like, he's like, it's kind of messed up that you're doing it. But if it's a woman, he's like, your womb is being destroyed by the devil. So it's interesting. He doesn't have the same energy for men.
They don't. I mean, he was anti. Well, I'll get into that in a moment. So for anyone who don't know what I'm talking about, Candy Burris's first daughter's father did an interview where he was talking about not wanting to pay child support. Apparently, he owes Candy money still. Mm-hmm. But let's hear what he had to say. And someone, let's play it. I'm gonna play it, and then we'll talk.
Her mom put me on child support. Now, how you got more money than me, they mom, and you put me on child support? It's because her mom put me on child support. Now, how you got more money than me, they mom, and you put me on child support.
All right, so that was
I'm so disgusted.
I don't know if it's the voice or the substance, but I am just disgusted. So, oh my God, someone said, who said that? No, don't delete it. Don't delete it. Someone said vintage dust. That is literally the most perfect phrase I've ever seen in my life. Who just said vintage dust? I think they deleted it. No, 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 no. Please, if you're the person, let me know. Moderators, find who says vintage dust. I'm going to use that. But I need whoever did it because you just won a prize. Whoever just said vintage dust just won a prize. Anywho, so Candace says, I don't care how well I'm doing. Not my battery is low.
Ooh.
Let me plug this. Every time you come on, this happens, by the way.
This happened the last time I was on. Yeah, but I was in person, and I remember I had to like run and go get your charger for you.
Do you agree with her? Why or why not? Give me 2 seconds.
Well, I think it's funny that she says I still didn't need the money that you owe me, but I think the more context behind this is that she did use that money for her daughter and gave that money to her daughter. I don't see why. Like, the thing is, it's weird because if he was actually in his child's life, he would still have to financially take care of his child. Like, you don't get out of financially taking care of your child because the other person has more money. If you know what I'm saying? Like, if the child lived with you, you would have to pay for things. You get the freedom to not really be a father and have to raise the child. Because I think he said all his other kids live with him and she didn't. So you're still having to do the financial part. You would have done that regardless. So I don't see how you get out of taking care of your kid financially.
No.
And I can't imagine if my father was out here complaining about having to take care of me financially, like as if I asked to be here. Like,
oh, the interview was longer and he's disgusting. In my opinion, he talked about how he was with this woman he loved. I think they were married, and Candy was a side piece. Like it was. I watched.
Why are you talking about this all these years later?
Yeah, clout, right? I don't know. Everyone goes to Vlad TV and they think Vlad is somehow like their therapist or something. So everyone just kind of divulge all kinds of information to him and dig up old. I don't know. It's kind of weird. All right. So before we go into our celebration, the last thing, Dr. Umar. I don't know if you know what divestment is.
I have a vague understanding of it. Yeah, I know. Isn't this whole movement for Black women to either stop dating Black men or to start dating white men? I think that's the movement. I'm not super well versed, but I know that much.
Yeah, close enough. Can we define fatherhood, please? Can we remove paternity if he wants to play in this game?
Ooh.
No legacy for you. Vintage dust. Just vintage dust. So Dr. Umar, in my opinion, I actually I don't give advice, but let me know if you agree with him in this video, because I kind of do.
Okay.
So he made a video the other day. There's an author called Ralph Richard Banks who explained why women should open their options and all of that stuff. He wrote an article talking about the new Supreme Court justice. She hasn't been sworn in yet. Miss Jackson, Justice Jackson.
Put some respect on her name.
Period. And Kamala and what they're doing and how they couple with white men and blah, blah, blah. Right? So women were speaking, and so now he decided to do a response. So we're going to watch, not all of this, but some of this. And I want to hear your take, because in my mind, he made the argument for divestment.
Okay.
I don't know if he knows he did that, but that's what I think he did.
Dr.
So let's
Umar.
watch it too. Yeah.
Okay.
And I will open the panel up for a moment for people to come on after this, and then we'll get into Justice Jackson's conversation. because apparently people have smoke there, and
With
so
Mrs. Jackson,
huh?
with her, they have smoke with her.
Oh yeah, so apparently I don't think people understand politics at the I don't even think it's high level politics. Like one of the
Oh, that
issues,
was low level.
yeah,
Yeah.
we'll get to it. We'll get to it. But if you guys have smoke, don't feel bad. You guys can come up and we can talk about
I
it.
would blow out all the smoke.
I don't do smoke.
I don't inhale smoke. No.
I've been hearing from a lot of sisters past couple weeks. A lot of my African sisters, they are hurt. They have been wounded intentionally or unintentionally by Black men. I've been getting a lot of emails over the past 2 weeks. Sisters are hurting. Dr. Umar, what am I doing wrong? I stayed with this guy too long. I didn't give this guy a good enough chance. So I just want to talk about a few things Black women do wrong in relationships. Black women, I want to give you some advice. We have a lot of good Black men.
Where did the hat come from?
Did that hat just appeared on his head? Wait, I'm so sorry, guys. I need to go back. I'm pretty sure that hat just
That was
appeared
not
on his
there.
head.
No, it was not.
Yeah, it was not. You better edit. You better jump cut. There better be a jump cut. Period. Keep going.
Enough chance. So I just want to talk about a few things Black women do wrong in relationships. Black women, I want to give you some advice. We have a lot of good Black men. Most Black men are good Black men. But you do have some brothers who will play you and hurt you. There are toxic Black men just like there are toxic Black women. There are toxic Black men just like there are toxic Black women. The reason I'm focusing on my sisters, because a woman can't have children forever. The reason I'm focusing on my sisters is a woman who wants a child don't have forever to create a child. And women, Black women, do not have as many options as Black men. Black women do not have as many options as Black men.
Let's test that theory. So this is where
Okay.
this is where the this is where the argument for divestment for him starts. This is emotional manipulation at its finest. Telling Black women that they don't have as many options as Black men is literally telling them they can't go anywhere, right?
And the biological clock. So it's not only you don't have options, but you got like a very short time. So pick what's out there.
By the way, there were women who came on my old video about him defending him. I don't know how I don't know how you could hear him say you should take abuse and stick with men who abuse you. And
Well, he hasn't said that yet. He hasn't said that yet.
no, in the last video. In the
Oh,
last
okay,
video.
okay.
But let's continue. So here we go.
Okay.
So sisters, in an effort to help you stop wasting your time, I've come up with pieces that I need you to consider. Number one of the biggest mistakes I see Black women make in relationships with Black men. One of the biggest mistakes I see Black women make in relationships with Black men. One of the biggest mistakes I see Black.
Girl, it's not a filter. It's not a filter. He
I was
literally-
laughing at the three. Just get to the point.
Girl, I laughed at the repetition the last video. There's a jump cut and someone was like, oh, it's a filter. Girl, this is not a
That is
filter. I
real.
saw him pull on that. Anyway,
That
let's
is real.
continue.
I like his little button though. I'm not gonna lie.
Black women make in relationships with Black men is threatening to leave knowing you're going to stay. Black women, stop telling men you're going to leave if you know you ain't going to leave. Stop threatening to leave him if you know you're going to stay. Because you can only write so many wolf tickets. You can only cry wolf so many times. The reason why a lot of Black women are not taken seriously by the men that they date is because you keep on making threats. You keep on writing checks that you know your ass is not going to cash. You keep on writing checks that you know your ass is not going to cash. See, when you tell a man I'm going to leave and you stay, when you tell a man I'm going to leave, but then you stay, you have just told him he controls you. He owns you. He can do whatever he want to do, and you're not going to go anywhere because you don't have the willpower. One of the quickest ways to show a man that you ain't got no willpower is to threaten to leave, and then you stay. So what should I do, Dr. Umar?
You should leave.
Hi,
You should
Kayla.
actually leave, right?
Hi, Kayla. Yeah,
I hope so. I hope what's next is you should leave.
thank you, Kayla. Oh, this part of the video, I actually agree with him.
Yeah, I'm like, you should leave.
I don't think he understands exactly what he's saying, but he's talking from an individual perspective. But if you take this to a communal level and talk about the conversations Black women are having about leaving, there is some truth to the idea that a lot of people are saying, I'm going to divest, I'm going to leave, I'm going to
They
leave,
don't
I'm going to leave.
divest.
But they're like, watch me leave. The Pink Pill talked about this.
Mm.
Watch me leave. Please don't let. It's almost like, I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave. Watch me leave. And it's like almost trying to tell them to change because you don't actually want to go. You want them to stop you, right?
Mhm.
And he's saying, okay, stop saying you're going to leave and just leave. And he's talking about the individual man, but on a
You're taking
community
it
level.
on a community level and saying, then, okay, that's interesting. Yeah. I'm trying to think what his pushback would be. He'd probably just repeat your sentence 3 times to you. But yeah, no, I think that makes sense. I see where you're coming from.
Keep your mouth shut and work on your self-respect and your willpower. Keep your damn mouth shut and work on your self-respect and your willpower. Because guess what, Black woman? When you're really ready to leave, when you are really tired of a dysfunctional relationship, when the Black woman is really tired of a dysfunctional relationship, just like a Black man, you don't have to threaten nobody. You just leave. You just leave. See, the fact that you got to threaten is
We ain't got to hear no more. Period.
Well,
And
yeah, I mean, I guess to use your analogy, then all these conversations about divesting shouldn't be happening. People should just
do it. So the question is whether or not people who are divesting are too loud about it. I think there can be. I'm not attacking or talking about divestment in a negative way, but on one hand, if there are people you are divesting to, right? If you're saying I'm leaving Black men and I'm going over here, if you make people aware, then they also have the opportunity to use
do the
you.
same. Oh wait,
Yeah.
you think to you? Oh wow, okay, that's different. Okay.
Yeah, so on that end, that's the problem. But I think for a lot of people, when they say it loudly, it's just an attack. It's not actually something that people want to do. I don't know. But it can come off like it's not something they want to do, but rather that they're just saying it to intimidate Black men or to change Black men's behavior or
Right.
to make Black men worry or something like that.
And I don't think
Because-
that's an effective way to change. If the goal is to change behavior, I don't think that talking about divestment would be an effective way to do that. But if the goal is to actually, divest and encourage others to divest, then I can understand talking about it to be like, hey, we should, as a movement or as a group. And to be clear, I don't really have an opinion one way on. I don't know enough about it to have an opinion. But if the point is to actually do what you're saying, then I can understand why people are talking about it to like persuade
Going
other women to do it. But if you're just trying to like shame Black men into being better, I don't think that it's going to be effective.
Yeah. So that's the thing. If you the the question has to be whether or not this is going to be about leaving and informing other people of their options, which makes sense, right?
Mhm.
As you just articulated, or if it's about trying to get Black men to change their behavior.
Mhm.
The problem is I don't think it will work as a mechanism for change in Black men's behavior until they start seeing the results. Because if you, like he said, he pointed out, if you keep saying you're going to leave but you don't, then
Yeah. I also don't know if even actually leaving is going to change Black men necessarily. And I don't like thinking about it that way because then it kind of puts the blame on Black women. Like, oh, the Black men that you don't like are only acting this way because I don't know. It's like putting it on me, like to control the behavior of a grown adult. And I'm not responsible
Exactly.
for the way any man will change if he wants to change.
And that's that has been my stance. I do not think it is fear for the improvement of Black men to be at the feet of Black women. I don't think that is a fair amount of pressure to put on someone. But I think women are having the conversation. And so for me, I don't involve myself in that. This is the most I've ever involved myself in that, but it's from Dr. Umar's perspective. So I'm criticizing Dr. Umar. And I mean, he's speaking, I think, for Black men when he said, if you keep saying it and don't do anything, then they're not going to care.
Yeah.
So, like, if you want to leave, but you don't have to.
But if you do leave, right, like, that man is still going to be what? He's going to find another person? Like, the thing is, it's like you're putting so much emphasis on the woman, but I feel like that energy needs to be towards the man. Like, yeah, you'll leave, and then he'll go abuse some other woman. And then what? She's just too weak to leave, and so boo-hoo. I mean, I don't know. I just think when someone is causing the problem in the scenario he gave, the energy needs to be on the person causing the problem.
Oh my God! Well, where are the men? I need the men to come up because. So you and I always have like random debates, and so it's usually like high level legal debates that we have. And I realize we haven't really had time to like really explore some of the cultural issues and dynamics. But you and I are in lockstep on this, I guess, where it's if you park your car, mahogany pink, if you park your car in a bad neighborhood, sure, you should have thought about it. You probably shouldn't have done it. But the court is going to look at the person who stole your car as a thief. You won't be blamed for parking your car in a bad neighborhood if we catch the thief. And I think so much of the conversation happens at don't park your car in a bad neighborhood. And it's like, okay, sure. But are we just going to ignore that someone just stole my car? Like, we know who stole my car. Like, are we just going to ignore liability for the person who stole my car?
Right.
So I appreciate that. Let's get one person on the panel. Hey, Concerned.
Hey, how are you guys?
Doing well. How are you?
I remember you, Vanessa. Super excited to be chatting with you. I watch a lot of these videos, Themis. So my first smoke is for Umar, for a guy who is trying to create a boys' school or a young man's school. He rarely has anything ever to teach guys. He seems to be really focused on trying to change the behavior of women. And that's the thing that does not set him apart from literally anyone else. Like, what makes Umar different than any other manosphere guy, except for maybe a PhD, which makes him basically like your lead attorney. So a guy in a suit who maybe has the authority because of some education, but it's your intentions, it's your integrity. This guy is talking about how women need to be about what they're about. I'm here for that. You're supposed to be about bringing up Black people. You're supposed to be about these types of values in terms of family. What about you, bro? You don't have a leg to stand on. The other smoke that I have is pertaining to the slap. So I am not a violent person. I've never been in a fight in my life. So take this with the grain of salt it deserves, because I don't throw hands. I wouldn't know what to do. I walk my way out of every fight, and I've done that my whole life. Okay. So with that being said, though, there was a book I read a while back. I'll try to remember it. But there's this woman named Amanda Knox who was an American exchange student in Italy. And what happened is that her roommate was stabbed to death, and she was sent to prison for several years. She had an alibi, but the people who were the police force that were questioning her felt like she was acting weird because she was laughing. She seemed too casual about it. I know a few people who laugh when they're nervous, like they can laugh when they're angry. And so when I think about the laugh, I'm not saying that he was right. I'm saying that we don't know if Will was angry in that moment, because the laugh doesn't mean what we think. It doesn't necessarily mean what we think it means.
True. Fair. I think that's fair.
So those are the only two smokes. I hope I can get a chance to come back up here, but super happy to be watching this live. I love you guys.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Bye.
Before we get Marcus on, someone said, I didn't even think about this. This is how out for lunch I am. Someone said, Dr. Umar might be pivoting to being a relationship guru.
Oh, like the opposite of Kevin Samuels.
In this video, he says it. He says it. Let me try to get to that point. I don't remember.
It's lucrative. I feel like it makes you popular.
Look, I did a live where I gave advice, and I thought my advice were good. Yeah, I told women how to be better in relationships.
When was this? I missed this one.
Girl, it was a mess. I became the alpha themis. It was great.
Okay.
But no, I was messing around.
I figured. I was like, that doesn't sound like you.
No, girl, I'm not gonna mess up anyone's life. Here, let's find where it was.
If you got daddy issues, disclaimer. Is this? You could text me your answer. And that is whether I should do the For Sisters Only tour without nearly 10 years late on the For Sisters Only book. So my question to Black women is this. You could text me your answer. And that is whether I should do the For Sisters Only tour without the book, or should I wait until my book is done?
Oh, he didn't give an option. Either way he's doing it. Sorry. Either way he's doing it. He just said when to do it.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, definitely. He was saying, should I do it before I write the book or after I write the book? Because I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
What is with these unmarried? Like, I'm not saying that being married means that you should even give relationship advice, but you're not. These people who haven't even shown me that they can be in a successful marriage trying to give me advice.
Well, he knows how to create single mothers. That's what he knows how to do. And so this is why he keeps saying, like, his logic is consistent with his behavior, in my opinion, where he says, the woman, you need to do this, and if the man is treasonous, you should stay, blah, blah, blah. Because he did that. He created a child and left the child. Anywho,
I don't know enough about his personal life, so I'm only judging him based on what I see in these videos.
I got documentations in the Discord, and I definitely read them. And I looked up the court documents that were filed. Yep, about child support. So what we're not gonna do is pretend like he's not part of the problem, at least behaviorally, right? Even if you agree or disagree with his rhetoric, if you believe fatherless homes are a problem, then he is a part of the problem, and that's just that on that. Allegedly.
They're on the allegedly for, defamation.
Freedom! All right, let me add Marcus.
Hello, I have 2 points.
Go ahead.
Sorry, the first one is about the slap. If you don't want to keep talking about it, then
no. You can bring up anything in the last whatever we talked about.
Okay. So one, I want to say there was something about the public humiliation and the public reprisal. I see something. First of all, full honesty, I really don't care about him slapping that. When I first heard about it, I was like, oh my God, the think pieces. And I was just like, honestly, I'm just like, these are 2 grown men, let them handle it. But one, the idea of like, number 2, I don't even think Will Smith would have enough power to really hurt Chris Rock, especially since for Chris Rock in his arena, he is more certifiably bankable than Will Smith has been for the past, 15 years in his arena? Like, a lot of his movies have been like financial failures.
Wait. He just won an Oscar.
Right, but actually, I don't even know if that one made a lot of money. But that was the thing where he hasn't been for a while. His movies haven't been making as much money.
He did Aladdin.
That's
Aladdin was huge.
That's true, but like I'm saying, for a while, like After Earth and like some other movies, he had a bit of a dry spell for a bit.
I mean, yeah, but like he is literally one of the few sort of A-list celebrities left because of the Insta celebrity reality that we have. No, I would push back a lot against Will Smith not being bankable. I think he still has a tremendous amount of pull and power.
I
But-
just googled their net worths. Sorry, I just googled their net worths. And obviously I don't know if these things are ever accurate, but it has Will Smith's net worth at about 350 million and Chris Rock's at 60. So that's quick. I don't know if it's factual or not.
Yeah, I mean, but go ahead. I think you can make your point regardless, I think.
Oh, so I was trying to see how much the King Richard movie made, but like for example, his Netflix movie and the fact that he had more Netflix. I don't think like Aladdin and winning the Oscar, but I still think like there was a while where the returns on his movies wasn't as high as it should have been for someone who's famous.
No, but so there has been a downward trend in the bankability of movies generally because of the pandemic and just the change in landscape of the media. So I wouldn't just put that on him, but TV shows like the Fresh Prince reboot or whatever is like huge now, and he is behind that. I mean, I think
Great show. Just gonna throw that out there.
I've never seen it.
King Richard hasn't even made its budget back.
Huh?
King Richard hasn't made its budget back.
Yeah, I mean, but it's recognized, and I think that it is critically acclaimed. Obviously, he just won an Oscar,
Right.
And so over
Like,
time, it
of
will.
course, and Aladdin. Oh, sorry.
Look, okay, I'm not saying you're incorrect in your assessment that he's not as bankable as he once was, but no one in Hollywood is. He's literally one of the biggest stars in Hollywood currently. So I don't, well, I'm gonna let you make your point, but I don't see how you would say I don't agree with that assessment. Go ahead.
So my point, damn it, sorry. So my point is, for the people who make the big decisions in Hollywood, I don't think famous is bankable. I don't think it would have as much pull to be able to do that. So I just question that. So and also
Wait. So do you really believe that if Will Smith said, "Hey, radio station, hey, TV show, if you interview Chris Rock, I won't show up," do you think they would interview him? Like, if people had to make a choice between Chris Rock and Will Smith, who do you think they will choose? Particularly because Chris Rock was like, his career was like literally flatlined until now.
Mhm. It depends. Well, it depends because they do have kind of different lanes. Certain radio shows would use that and like bring Chris Rock on and like say, "Oh, Will Smith didn't want us to do it." Like, it depends on which lane. If more Chris Rock's lane with more like comedic element and like messy, it depends.
What was your second point? I think you had two.
Oh, sorry. Oh, well, it was for that. Oh, and also, if it was true, I don't know if this is true. If Chris Rock has been inappropriate with Jada for 20 years, or like something like for a long time, we don't know what Will has done in the background especially if Chris Rock has been inappropriate for that long. And also with
Wait, who said he has been? Jada and
I'd seen some comments about that Chris has made comments about Jada in the past, but I've only ever seen one video
And they acted in they acted in an animated series together, and I saw the interview. Like,
I didn't see that one. So maybe there's
yeah.
two.
So I don't know how true that is.
I don't know either. I'm just saying.
Let me just say, if someone has level fame, resources, and power, and they cannot dim the light of Chris Rock, then he don't know what he's doing.
Andrew
That's
wants
all I'm gonna say.
Themis wants everyone to pull a Beyonce, basically.
Period.
And
If you can't do it,
destroy
you can't do it.
careers. I don't know if I'd rather, if it was between a slap and destroying my career, maybe I would
Take a slap. Exactly. So that would have been more powerful. Continue.
I'd like to have my career.
And also, just for me being petty, if like a white woman had been talking about how she lost her hair doing a medical thing, no one would have laughed. Everyone would have been gassed. Like if Chris Rock
No. Okay, I agree with you on Chris Rock is not no victim. I mean, he was the one who got slapped, but he was wrong. Like,
I'm talking about the audience reaction.
Oh, I will drag. For my first reaction was dragging Chris Rock first, and then when going on to saying, "Well, Will Smith, you probably shouldn't have slapped him. You should have done something else." So no.
The audience's reaction
more.
I was just the audience reaction. I mean, like the laughing, I feel like is almost instinctual because even when he slapped Chris, they laughed, right? Like I don't think the audience's reaction. I don't know if we can take much from their reaction.
No.
I would push, but like because like when Rich whatever his name Jarvis was, the audience felt like go too far. They weren't. There might have been some scattered laughter that was from shock or feeling uncomfortable, but like overall, it was just like you could see that they were uncomfortable. That was just me being petty and being like, if a white woman in that situation, it wouldn't have been that like 100%. Oh, it's a joke. He's laughing. I think it would have been more.
Yeah, I mean, the slap helped. The slap helped Chris financially. Period.
Oh, it absolutely helped him financially. His tickets, like it had the opposite effect of whatever. I mean, his ticket sales have gone up. His shows.
This is why you need to move.
Double the price of his tickets.
Yeah, it's definitely benefited. I've had a couple people that I know buy tickets that would not have bought tickets before. Like, I didn't know he had a show.
I mean, and so if we're thinking strategy, the slap derailed your career and promoted his. So even if you agreed to the slap and this is what you would do and blah, 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 ultimately you helped him.
You helped him and you hurt yourself.
Yeah, I mean, so even if we're having the conversation about protect Black women, okay, well, you didn't protect their legacy, you didn't protect your resource, hindsight 20, whatever, you didn't do that, but you actually helped the person who disrespected your work. No, I don't move like that.
I've been trying to understand, I've been trying to understand how the slap protected her, and I don't really see it. Her voice hasn't been uplifted. We've never heard how she feels or what she's going through. The statement was already said. I'm like, I just want someone to please explain to me what protection occurred.
It's the performance that people like. It is the performance of aggression in the name of someone else that people see as protection. And that is not, that for me is not protection. If you want to protect your wife, from him calling her name and other people calling her name, show your power. Your power to stop someone is not always physical. Because you couldn't walk up there and slap Jay-Z. Or you couldn't not Jay-Z, sorry, 50 Cent. Or someone else who is like physically bigger than him, right? You wouldn't do that. What you would do is operate differently. And so for me, it's like, you cannot always protect someone physically, and that's fine, but you have other ways of protecting that is more, in my mind, vicious. The fact that, Vanessa, you said you would prefer to get the slap and keep your career, right? So I'm going to destroy the career, because that's the thing, that would hurt. That would hurt. So that's what I'm going to do. But anyway.
I just wish that women's voices were somehow uplifted in this, and that there was a broader conversation and education around alopecia and the way in which we tie Black women's whole identities and beauty and everything to their hair. And like none of that happened. And I think that would have been fruitful
But
conversation.
she's going to have him on the Red Table Talk to talk about it.
If he
So
goes on the Red Table Talk, I would gag. That's the way.
Oh wow. I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just think that would have been protecting Black women, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, like I see where you're coming from, and then also I see the idea for like public humiliation, public reprisal, stuff like so. But like I said, I don't care about those two enough, even though I've been talking about it for the last 5 minutes. But okay, second thing, this is about divestment. Okay, so a second part, I know that all hail King B. I know that you said that you don't really know that much about divestment, but okay, so what seems to be a overarching belief, a common belief among divestment is that Black women are totally cutting, like divesting from interest in the Black community as a whole. It's not just, oh, I'm not going to date Black men. It's the idea that you're divesting from all of the Black community. And so what really, like, I listen to a lot of people, like I agree with and don't agree with, but one of the things that really gets me about divestment is so a lot of them, they they criticize a lot of the activism that Black women do, and like they say things like, oh, you guys talked about, defund the police. Well, look at these crime stats. Like they believed you, and so they defunded the police, and look, the crime stats are up, which is like not even true. And it's like, so it's a very basic, like Fox News headline understanding of activism, and that Black women do. So that's like my biggest point. Like, oh, you guys complained about this predatory behavior of police and they stopped that. Look, it's more, and I'm like, that's not true. That's like only part of it. It's like this lack, if you're going, and so my idea is to have a more nuanced understanding of what you're speaking out against. But like that's my like, I don't know, irk about the divestment. So that's not smoke for you. That was just in general.
yeah, I mean, I'm like obviously not a part of a movement that I don't know much about.
Yeah. And also, to be fair though, to divestors, I've heard multiple definition, and so to talk to Vanessa about this, for me, I probably will talk to her offline more about what I think it is. But if there are divestors here, now is your chance to shine.
I am more than I'm not a YouTuber, so I don't know about the nuances of it, but I am happy to learn about divestment. I mean, if it is what you just said it is, which is like divesting from the Black community as a whole, then that's a little.
No, because I've heard divestors talk about protecting Black women and being there for Black women and protecting children, and so like I don't know if I don't know if I would agree with that, but maybe it is. For some people, it might be. I don't know. And there's a manifesto that I read that I will not regurgitate because I don't agree with it. But
I mean, I'm sure like any movement, I feel like every movement has extremists and people who diverge and have different perspectives. So there probably is a subgroup that has that perspective of divesting from the Black community as a whole. That would be confusing because as a Black person, I don't know how I can divest from myself. So that is interesting though.
Anyway, thank you, Marcus. There's a ton of people behind, so I want to get some people on. And then
those are my points. All right, thank you.
Bye.
Going away from toxic situations and people and putting yourself first.
Night. Go ahead.
Hi, Themis. I really love your show.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
I would say that I have like 2 points. I wouldn't
Everyone
really
has
call
2 points.
myself a divester, just because I don't really understand, I guess, the philosophy behind it. I think it's very there's a lot of stuff around it that I feel could be seen as really negative, so I don't really think I'll dip my toes into that until I really understand. But I have a lot of thoughts about the whole Will Smith situation.
All right. we're gonna limit the discussion on Will Smith, and not because of this. I feel like it's kind of stale, but go ahead. We're gonna limit it to like less than a minute.
No, it's okay. I would say it's only because of the respectability politics, personally, just of how I think people reacted to it versus like how white people and other communities of people reacted to it. I just thought that was really interesting because I am also Nigerian, so I'm very used to the like, if you say something, you're going to get smacked kind of mentality. So it's very interesting to see how almost white society punished Will for that instead of Black people kind of holding him accountable for his actions. But at the same time, no one seems to hold Chris Rock accountable for the things he said in the past. And at the same time, it's really interesting to see how we as Black people have to kind of interact in society. Because at the same time, the racist undertones that popped up immediately after that in articles and just on the internet was astonishing.
Yeah, that's why I said I wouldn't talk about it on here again, but Vanessa was coming on because I don't want to give racist people an excuse to be racist. For like they don't need an excuse. They go racist, go racist. But I didn't want to add my voice to the chorus of voices dragging Will because I am not like. I don't hate him. I still will watch his movie. I don't think you should physically attack people just generally. So that, but like, unless you're being attacked or like you're protecting your wife or friends against a physical attack. So like, I don't see it that way, but I'm not mad. Like, Chris Rock is fine. And if he wasn't, he will have to learn to be, because he's not that big of a star. I'm kidding. Kidding. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, and I would say that like the other thing is just like I know everybody's talking about how Will shouldn't hold Chris accountable with his money, but I think one part that we just need to talk about is the fact that the entertainment industry is predominantly owned by white people. So if Black people withheld their dollars from him, that's great, but I think it's also like, would we all as a collective stop supporting him? Because if we did, maybe that would happen, because if less people started showing up to his shows, maybe something would have happened to him. But if other groups of people are still showing up and he's still saying negative things about Black women and just people in general, I don't see that changing for him. He's made jokes about Black people pretty much his entire career.
Yeah, but he hasn't gotten pushback from an A-list celebrity. But I mean, I get it. I take your point. I don't care anymore. Like it's not that it's like, girl, Will Smith, you shouldn't have been punished as bad, is my opinion. And so that's just that for me.
Okay. When are we gonna talk about my girl?
Oh, all right. Let's do it. So thank you so much. Let's do for everyone. SKJ is the last person who will come up. So everyone will have 30 seconds. There's 3 people. I will only add 3 more people, and then we'll go to your girl.
Like she knows me.
Truth teller.
Oh no, only 30 seconds. I don't know if I can say what I need to say in 30 seconds. I was going to say, unfortunately, it is commenting on the whole Will Smith debacle. I know. I wanted to comment the last time you were doing a live, but I think I was like doing something. I wasn't able to get on. I agree with you in that the response to what happened to him was really severe in terms of what he did. But I think I'm in the minority of minorities because I watched it live as it was happening and I was very confused whether or not it was a bit or if it was real. And for me, because I actually watched the G.I. Jane, I didn't find the joke as offensive at all. And I feel like there was a lot of projection from Black women in the community.
No, it was offensive. It was meant to be offensive. Even though she was like
Demi Moore is a beautiful woman with her shaved head, and so is Jada Pinkett. And I understand, if I can make my point, I understand that it's for different reasons, that Jada shaved her head because of alopecia, and what's her name? Demi Moore was in a part in a movie. But I thought the context of where it's happening at the Oscars, Jada is also an actress, that he even thought, I think that intention and impact is something that needs to be considered here. I don't believe that Chris Rock said that joke as like a malicious attack on Jada's personhood. or what have you. And so, you know, and to be quite honest, in looking and watching the video, I thought Jada looked more annoyed and pissed off than hurt. That's not to say that in the background, you know, what she's struggling with, what she may have shared in her home with Will Smith or whatnot, the pain that she's going through. Because we all understand, for all women, even men, losing your hair is a very traumatic thing, whether you're male or female, but especially for women, because our hair is a signal of our beauty. I understand that. But I'm saying that in that moment and in the context that the joke is taking place, Chris Rock is a comedian, Jada is an actress. It's not like he called her a man, or like a monster like 50 Cent did with that girl from 3LW.
No, okay, so I'm gonna stop you. I think I get it. I disagree with you. I think Chris Rock made the documentary about good hair.
Mhm.
I think you have to, for someone who's that involved in Black women's hair, understand the implication of such a joke. If you don't, then you should not have made the documentary. I think that him making the joke was about Black women being bald. That's how I interpreted it. But it could be like when he said it to her, he might not have known. And I talked about this, about her alopecia and all of that, right? Like I get that. But he understood, in my opinion, what the joke would mean, not just to Jada, but generally. And I think I think he thought people would just push it under the rug. Now, I think that might be far-fetched, and maybe people don't agree with me, but I will continue to hold him accountable for the joke, because I think it was in bad taste. And for someone who is that quote unquote invested, like you,
I don't think he's not invested though.
No, you are. If you make a documentary on Black women's hair and profited from it, you're that invested. You're that invested.
I don't think he was invested when he made the movie in terms of having empathy for, or and that's I guess that would be the debate. And that documentary, when was that?
But that's what I'm
the
saying.
documentary has a whole section that there's a woman with alopecia who is talking about her struggle with it and identity. So I mean, maybe it was a long time ago. Maybe he forgot it. Maybe it didn't matter.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, because he's a man too, after all, right? Like, so I don't know that he's not as invested. Men are not going to be as invested in conversations about beauty and the impacts in the same way that women will be as engaged. So I really don't believe that.
Okay, but I'm going to hold him to the standard of someone who should have known, because he made the documentary and he profited from it. So he doesn't get the excuse that he's a man and he forgot. He doesn't. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not trying to change your opinion, but for me, I'm going to hold him to the standard that he claimed to be. I'm going to take him at his word when he made the documentary that he cared about Black women and their hair. So for you to then make that joke offhand, I'm going to hold you to that criteria. I'm going to hold you to that standard. And for me, it's bad.
Okay. Well, for me, I didn't think it was that bad.
Gotcha. I mean, we can differ. But and I'm also, like, obviously it doesn't affect me in the same way. I'm a Black man, you're a Black woman, so I mean it's gonna hit differently. But I was like, no.
And also, too, just a final point on that. I thought that Jada I remember seeing a video of hers because before she was just wearing her hair in a low cut, which she has done before. And again, I understand that this time it's different. And I thought that she intentionally shaved her head as an act of empowerment and just sort of like accepting. And I think she made like a note about that. So there was like a lot of like confusion as to, I thought she was owning it and was feeling confident about shaving her head down, because her alopecia, though present, like she was just wearing a short haircut, similar to what she had done years prior, like earlier on in her career. So I thought that the shaved head was a bold, empowering statement that she was making. And her daughter joined her along with it to say, I'm standing in the truth of this is what I'm going through. And again, that's not to say that behind closed doors, she's not still struggling with that. But I do agree with what Vanessa had said in terms of, I don't see how doing that was protection for her, like slapping him. And I also agree with Vanessa in that I wouldn't want Chris Rock's career to just completely be like done. I feel like the best way for Will to have addressed it if he felt like his wife was wronged is to go up to Chris man-to-man and step to him man-to-man and say something, as opposed to that.
Well, when I hear man to man, he did what when I hear man to man, he did what I assume that
Is a slap really manly though? I mean,
I don't think so, right?
I mean, I guess you should have punched him in the face, then I don't know.
No, not punching.
Thank you so much, Truth Teller. I mean, we're just gonna agree to disagree on that.
We are.
I don't think the joke is funny on when you think about Black women as the butt of joke. It's not to say, oh my God, Black woman, you're beautiful, or you're beautiful like Demi Moore. Like, that's not, like, Black humor when women are involved is never really uplifting. So
that's true.
I cannot read the joke with a lens that he meant it in any way but to be disparaging, because that's how Black jokes tend to occur. But I mean, we could just have a differing opinion on that.
And this has been 30 seconds. Famous.
Yeah, bye.
I'm
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, so two more. Teresa.
Good evening, Themis and Vanessa. I'm just listening in because I also want to celebrate the justice being confirmed today. But I am a divester, so I thought I would come up to describe what divestment is, because it's a lot of people with a lot of different opinions or misinformation and this, that, and the other who aren't even divested. So let me just clear the air. Divestment is Black women making an evaluation of their life, their thought processes, their decisions, and the culture that they're a part of in the lens of what is in their best interest, and sort of dismissing and throwing off the shackles of sort of the conditioning for us to always think race first, which really translates to Black men first and all of their issues and struggles and challenges and etc. So it's a shift. It's a complete shift in your thinking, which then will translate into a shift in your actions and your decisions to put what serves you first. And when you do that and you really examine Black culture and your conditioning, you realize that a lot of the information that you were fed, a lot of the maxims and principles that you were taught are really for your disadvantage. They're detrimental to you. And we've talked, and I've seen you on the other shows, for instance, believing that, degrees are bad, where you have to throw off all of these false notions of what makes you desirable or whatever within the Black community, and looking at it with a sober mind about what it is and what it isn't. And stop protecting people that don't need protecting, right? Looking at people really objectively and saying, no, this is wrong, this is bad, this is not good, we're not going to defend that, and making a change in your life. And when you do that as a Black woman, you will see that your interests are not aligned with the Black culture. They typically aren't. And one of the reasons why I wanted to come on also is because I'm an attorney as well. And so when you do that, you start to realize, as my other Black female colleagues did, they have more in common with non-Black men than a lot of Black men. And so we're starting to wake up to that long time ago. But at the end of the day, ultimately, that's what it is. It's you, as Black women and Black girls, you don't divorce yourself from the Black community. That's false, because you're Black. You still are Black, but you are concerned more so with what is best for Black women and Black girls. And that's what, sort of is the flagship of your life. You're not focused on Black men at all. And in fact, when you do that, you start to look at, when you look at what your standards, expectations, and requirements are for a partner, if that's what you choose to do, because not every divester has to date or marry, you just are withdrawing your support, withdrawing your resources, withdrawing yourself from what does not serve you. And when you do that and you start to look at your own standards, a lot of Black men just don't measure up to that.
Whoop.
And so that's just the facts. That's what the article says. That's what the book is Marriage for White People says. I mean, It's just the facts, especially when you reach a certain level of success, education, etc. Who matches you doesn't tend to be a Black man. And so at the end of the day, it's all about what is in our best interest and what's good for us. It's not anti anybody, it's pro us. And so people who have a problem with it, it's because either they're Black males, right? And I understand that that might be uncomfortable, but a lot of Black women also have that problem because they're still in that. They haven't advanced to that level of thinking yet and really examination in their life. So they still are on the fence or what have you. So back to the point of whether or not, you know, whatever Dr. Umar, who in the world listens to that man, I don't know. But, you know, that, oh, don't tell us we're going to leave. Divestors have already left. We're not telling anybody we're leaving. We're already gone. It's the fence sitters who are threatening to leave or who are hoping that their threat is going to change or modify the behavior of somebody else. Divestors are not concerned with whether Black men are improve or not.
Okay.
But we got off that train a long time ago.
Can I ask a question then?
Sure.
Are divestors, do they have I mean, obviously, I'm asking you to speak for an entire group of people, but in terms of women who, you know, say they you know, like, I'm going to still continue to date only Black men, or I want to date, is there a view or perspective on them at all? Or is it just more like, you do you, but I'm going to do what's best for me? Like, is there any friction between those two types of people?
Yeah, there is friction. I can, like you said, I can only speak for myself because I know that there are some pretty strong opinions of certain divestors, particularly on social media. I mean, it's social media, right? They're going to be sensationalistic. They're going to say some pretty extreme things. But I think for the average divestor, we're not concerned with what some people call mammies or fence sitters or pick-me's. We're not. Hey, as far as I'm concerned, like, we're not swimming in the same waters. If you want to still focus on Black men, that's you. What happens oftentimes with the friction is they criticize us and say, oh, divestors are this, or and divestors are that, and misinformation, and this is, we're extreme, and you're not even a divestor and you're commenting. The bottom line is we're at a different stage of development in terms of what.
Before you go, I actually want to ask, what do you have to say to the comment below?
The Black Kings.
Okay.
I don't even know why I'm laughing.
Such as the Black they're missing. You're asking me about that? Yeah. The real losing the situation is Black women they're missing. I don't get it. Okay, well, yeah. We'll miss that. We'll take that chance. We'll take that chance. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like I said, if you think Black men are kings, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what you measure a king by. What is your definition of a king? I don't think kings kill women every 5.5 hours. I don't think kings devalue education and say Black women don't have worth if they have degrees. I don't think kings have the employment rate, criminal conviction rate, and etc. So I don't know what you're considering a king. And if that's what you want, that's what you want. I mean, we believe that Black women should be able to make a choice on whatever she thinks is best for her. We just will, share if people want to hear about our journey, because at some point we all were there, right? And we're willing to, share why we've made the decision that we've made and what divestment is and the benefits of it.
Thank you so much, Teresa.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Is this one of your, sorry, Themis, is this one, I can't tell if they're trolling or if they're serious. Or...
Unfortunately, her education.
I don't know if they're, I will say, as someone who, I guess for me, this whole divestment thing is so hard for me to wrap my head around, only because of, like, I've always dated men of, like, all race, like a Black, white, Asian, like, I don't know, I'm equal opportunity over here. So I'm like, I've never thought about divesting because I've always just been open to dating. I don't know. I believe love has no racial boundaries. So I'm like, I've dated men of all races. So it's given me a lot to think about.
My cousin is the last person for this section, and then we'll move on. Okay. she looks like my family member. So SKJ.
I thought you were saying your real cousin. I was like, oh my gosh, it's so cool.
No.
Themis can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Themis. Hi, Vanessa. It's nice to meet you. I am not Themis's actual blood cousin, but like in theory, yes. So I am divested from that other conversation, and we're not going to have it. I want to talk about, Dr. Umar in this divestment conversation. I really appreciated what the last caller came up and the way she Teresa, thank you. I really appreciate the way that she defined divesting. And I said in the comments a little while ago that I definitely think that it falls on a spectrum because it seems like depending on how you as a Black woman live your life, some divestors may consider you divested or they may not, whatever. What I will say is I do think that the way that we talk about divestment on social media and like how popular it's getting, that does concern me a lot. One, because the more a movement grows, the more the extreme of that movement grows. And the extreme of the divestment movement is nasty. Like it is absolutely disgusting. Like I'm talking like if you did not see their icons, you would swear these are KKK members. It's really bad. And it actually really concerns me to think about like how far that type of rhetoric can spread, because I consider myself, again, I wouldn't define myself as a divester, but I'm like you, Vanessa, where it's like equal opportunity, like anybody could get it. That's fine.
Yes.
Anybody could get it.
Someone, wait, there's a funny story. Was it you, Vanessa? This might be you. I'm sorry.
Talk about business out there in these streets.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
Okay.
Remember when you, oh my God, no, I shouldn't say this.
Well,
No.
now I'm curious.
When someone
I'll
said
just deny it if it's embarrassing. It's fine.
your body is a temple, and then I was like, so does that mean everyone can get in? Because not to you, but like, because a temple is where you get everyone to go. Because in my mind, that's how I thought, but that was before I was Americanized, so I didn't know what it meant when you said my body is a temple. So like in my mind, it meant
no, that's funny.
Everyone could go in.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I do like the part of the movement that's saying you should be open to dating other race. I mean, I think look, I'm not going to tell people who to date and what they shouldn't date. If someone wants to only date Black men, that's fine. But I've always felt like people should be open to, well, I'm a romantic, so to finding love wherever it meets you. And like, just because someone happens to be white or Asian or Latino or whatever, like you're just going to not even look at them because you can only date one race. I've always felt that was a little silly. So I like the idea of like encouraging Black women to like think outside of that. I've never thought about like then being like, okay, then I won't date Black men. I don't think I've ever done that or thought about that before. So this is like
just an FYI, if you date out of your race, Dr. Umar wants nothing to do with you.
I don't want to date Dr. Umar, so
that's quite all right, Cheryl.
I think it's a mutual not liking each other. It's a match made in hell. I don't want him. You don't want me. That's great.
Yeah, no, I was not Americanized. So like I now know that it meant it's sacred.
Sacred. My body is a temple. Like
yeah, but because like in Jamaica, it's like a temple mean bring me your weary, bring me your downtrodden.
Please don't bring me the weary. I don't do men who don't have their shit together, regardless of race. That's
yeah. Anyway, SKJ, you can finish up and then we go into the celebration.
I'm a swirler. Do you see the comment? I have a identity now.
Yeah, this I know what it is.
Yes, I was gonna say that I think that in the community to be defined as a swirler, and I think I may be that too. And to what you just said, Vanessa, I think the point is, I think that Black women, and this is maybe different from other races of women, we are a lot more focused on not dating other groups of men. And I think that's for many, many reasons. I know multiple Black women who say, my husband is Black or I have no husband at all. And I do think that the divestment movement is trying to speak to those women and say, is that really what you want? If what you want is a family, do you really want to limit yourself to this one group of men? And again, I still consider myself pro-Black. So I am one of those people that's like, yes, my preference is Black men, but it is not a deal breaker for my partner to be Black. And I think that really the divestment movement is speaking to those women. Like, do you really want race of all things to be your deal breaker? And I think that that is fine. And then the one other thing that I will say
wait, before you go to the next thing, do you think it's a disservice to announce to the world that your preference is Black? Go ahead. Don't answer. You don't have to answer. Go ahead.
Okay.
Leave her alone.
Maybe it is. Maybe I think it depends on what angle you think of it from, to be honest. And then the last thing I'll say is that I don't think that the Black women who are against divestors, I don't think that they realize that divestors are doing you a favor. We are leaving more of that pool for you. So you too obviously want the best Black man. If we go date the white man, Asian man, Latino, that's more for you, sister. Everybody wins. It's a win-win. So what are we arguing about at the end of the day? I'm never going to try to convince a woman to be a divestor or a swirler. Girl, do what you want. Just get the best one. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, period. Someone said, thank you, FKJ. Please come back when we start the celebration.
When we start talking about the thing you invited me to talk about.
Yes, well, let's do it now. By the way, just an FYI, someone said that the Jamaicans don't think temples are for people who maybe it's the British thing then. I don't know where I got it from.
Maybe it's just you, Themis. Maybe it's just you.
When I think of a church, a temple, when you say temple, I think of a church. And when I think of a church, I think of helping the needy. Huh?
I said holy, you said helping the needy.
Both
true.
All right. Let's play. I'm going to break this so that we can have a new energy to go talk about Justice Ketanji Brown
Add
Jackson.
the justice in there.
Period. You will not be disrespecting this Black woman who is killing it. You will not. So let's do it. Yes, I make great Jamaican food.
Yes, concur. Yes,
I am a chef.
Very good.
Cass, welcome to the membership. All right. So we have Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson was confirmed as the next Supreme Court justice, right? And I put up a post celebrating it, celebrating this monumental sort of historic event. She's the first Black woman to be nominated to this spot. So I'm thinking this is a celebratory moment. And I posted, and I'm going before we even get to celebration, I actually have to pull up a response, because as I was reading Justice Jackson's sort of journey to where she is now, she pointed out something that someone said to her, and I highlighted it, and I'm going to put that on the screen, and I'm going to juxtapose that with what this Black man said on the post. So this is what happened. This is what the guy said. So by the way, this is the post. Again, your degree and education matters. Maybe not to them, but to someone, right? So that's what it's a congratulatory post. Sharon, welcome. Thank you for the membership, my dance. All right. So this man decided to say, yes, degrees matter. So does your circle and network. She was nominated. She did not apply. She checked off all the boxes based on her career and who is in her circle. By the way, who is in her circle is only there because of her education, but we're not even gonna break down the flaws in this logic. The fact that you even wrote this under the post literally makes no sense. There are thousands of Black female judges who are also educated but will never get nominated because they don't check all the boxes.
There are
Let's
not
not
thousands of, sorry, there are not, that's just factually incorrect. I wish there were, because I would have applied to all of them, but
Yeah.
no, there are not thousands of Black female judges.
Yeah. Anyway,
Anyways.
let's not pretend any let's not pretend any Black woman who attend an average state college university can simply just work her way to the Supreme Court. She is a Harvard Law graduate. She is well connected. So the education does matter.
What's
But
the point? Sorry, what's the give me the thesis of this.
the point is you can't do it.
Oh, like
The
other
point
Black
is
women can't do it.
other Black women can't do it. But Ketanji actually got the same advice before. This is such an interesting thing. So here's what a counselor told her when she wanted to go to Harvard University. When Judge Jackson told her high school guidance counselor she wanted to attend Harvard, the guidance counselor warned that Judge Jackson should not set her sights so high. So we are in a world where people think it is okay to step on other people's dream. And let's step back. Can you imagine if Justice Jackson,
okay?
if Justice Jackson had sat there and listened to the guidance counselor about whether or not she could get into Harvard and decided not to go there. It is interesting when people come on the post and try to quote unquote put Black women in their place and humble Black women. He will come back and he will let you know he wasn't trying, he was just adding nuance to the conversation. No.
Just say congratulations and
yeah. No, but I think this is important. Like as soon as I saw that, because like obviously we have a new Supreme Court justice. So like I'm going to do some research on her. I'm gonna think about some of the things that she's done and all of that. So as I'm watching this, I read it and then I saw that comment and it popped out and I literally had to go back to find this quote right here about what the guidance counselor said because it was so emblematic of that. It is, how do I limit this person? And let me say something quickly. I do not believe that a lot of these people are intentionally being malicious. I think a lot of people limit themselves. They have been taught to not shoot for the highest star that they can, right? They've been limited in the world. We've all been told you're not good enough. A lot of us who are in corporate America have imposter syndrome, right? So because they're so limited in where they believe they can go, they're now projecting that. And some of them are actually attempting, I don't think this person was, but actually attempting to protect you from aiming too high because you will fall in their mind. Like, you cannot listen. You cannot aim with someone else's sort of mirror. You cannot look through someone else's lens. They don't understand what you have planned for your life and how you are going to get where you need to go. And so it was so heart-wrenching to read a comment. There were other men on that comment saying, Black woman, where's your baby daddy? Someone was like, she's married, but why? But most of you aren't married. And it's like, are you intentionally here to degrade the women? Like, is that your purpose?
Also, I'm confused. Nobody said that they me being happy for her. I never even said I could do it myself. So I don't understand why you come in and trying to ruin my parade and tell me that I can't do it. I never said I could. I'm just genuinely being happy for this woman. But two, I don't understand why the lesson that we're learning from this is now you have to be exactly like her to be successful. Her whole point was that she didn't fit the criteria that people had in their minds for what success looked like. So if anything, for you now to say like, okay, well now she's acceptable, but you know, that kind of cuts against everything that she's talked about, right? Why can't there be one day someone on the Supreme Court that went to a state law school? Why is your vision so narrow and limited? And when I just, people keep moving the goalposts of what is and isn't acceptable, and I'm just confused why that was that person's first thought.
Well, take this one.
Oh my God. I thought I was here for happy reasons. Anyways.
No, you are. We're going to celebrate in a moment. Take that one.
What these single Black chicks on here, Yippee and Hoorayin, don't understand is that she has a husband. Okay. White, sadly, but still a husband. Now, where's yours? What? What does that have to do with anything? Objection, relevance.
No, yeah, the thing is, like, there is this need to humble Black women. Like
you can't do it. Just because she did it, you still can't do it. So you stay in your, why are you so focused on me? This ain't even about me. Why am I in it? That's what I'm like, I'm not even proclaiming myself to do anything. I'm just happy. My happiness is so upsetting to you that you need to come in and like stomp all over it? Why are you focused on me?
Because he's like, I do not want these Black women to start getting ideas. Do not start getting ideas, Black women. Do not start getting ideas. Like, how is that your position? Like, who bothered you? Like, literally, we're here celebrating. Okay, we can't do it. Men can't do it. Women can't do it. She did it. We're celebrating her. Why are you in my face telling me I can't do it? No one said it.
I didn't even say I wanted to do it. I don't understand why I'm in the conversation.
By the way, if you are a Black man who wrote any of those comments, or a Black woman who wrote those comments, please know that there is an open invite for you to come on this panel and get dragged. I mean, for us to talk.
Famous. Don't be dragging these people.
So the celebration. Cory Booker. Cory Booker had something to say. He's a very performative, but it is what it is.
I thought it was beautiful.
Is this the one you're talking about, by the way?
I don't know, actually.
All right, let's play it.
Chairman, I don't know if you know about the vaunted holiday of Festivus, which is the holiday for the rest of us during the holidays. And one of the aspects of Festivus is the airing of grievances. And I think that we've had probably the best Festivus celebration here in this hearing over the last week or so, because there's been a lot of airing of grievances. Now, I'm one of these people that thinks that there's no false equivalency here, that the grievances that I've seen since I've been here, from the ridiculousness of Merrick Garland and when he was nominated, not even having a hearing, not even meeting with him, or even some of the language. I recently looked at one of the quotes from one of the people on this committee on the Republican side who talked about if Hillary Clinton won, we should just leave any Supreme Court vacancies if the Republicans.
Oh, this isn't what I was thinking about. I can't hear you.
Demas is gayer than Booker.
Oh, okay. That's a statement.
Period. Yeah, I don't understand why y'all mad.
That is so. Is that a compliment? I don't know what that. Okay.
I don't know, but let's continue.
Okay. That's not what I thought you were talking about this video. So.
All right.
To control the court. But I'm also self-interrogate enough to know that I shouldn't just sit here and air my grievances and listen to their grievances. And that's why I'm really appreciative of Ben Sass, Senator Sass, and I think the Oxford English Dictionary is now a new word for next year, jackassery. I want to thank Tom Tillis. I don't, again, agree with his equivalencies on everything, but I see an earnest person trying to figure out how we can make sense of this place and return more to patriotism, less towards partisanship. And I've listened to every time he spoke, he's made appeals to those higher angels, and I'm grateful for that. I really do worry about where we are spiraling towards. I worry about hearings like this, where the majority of people on both sides, I think, were well within the zone, but I heard things that were just ridiculous and painful and hurtful. And I do worry, and I hope that maybe when the cameras are off and some of us can get together and talk about how do we repair and how do we heal. I have not resigned myself to the inevitability of this is where the United States Senate is going. And the collateral damage to this, and it's not all us, I think the Supreme Court has done enough damage to itself with its lax ethics rules, but the legitimacy of the court has sunk pretty dramatically over the last years. And I think a lot of it is because of the spectacle that we've seen here and now, and that really, really concerns me. Look, I think it was, I know it was President Lincoln who said, the world will little note nor long remember what we say here. And I know that's from my words as well. This is a frustrating experience to see this happen. But I want to make a couple points and then shift to my final point. I think we do real damage to our own agendas here as elected leaders when we so vilify each other that we create these caricatures. I made the mistake in one Supreme Court hearing, and it was not intentional, but even when it came out of my mouth, in talking about a Supreme Court justice, I used the word evil. I did not intend to do it. And the context, I think, might save me. But how horrible it is to describe another human being with terms like I've heard here, evil. I remember my governor, who was Republican, against my gut. Sometimes see some of my friends that might run for president on the other side. I think I might foil their campaigns by going around hugging them. Because that's where we've gotten in America right now. We've so vilified each other. And that's why I just want to address the absurdity of the vilification of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. Even the rhetoric I've heard used here, I kept writing things down. Judge Jackson is not an extremist. She is not out of the judicial norm. I've heard language, I won't read through all the attacks on her that I've heard in this hearing today, not to mention the previous days. I'm sorry, who does the American public want to believe? A bunch of elected senators or the independent folks that are out there? To say she's an extremist on crime belies the fact that she has law enforcement group after law enforcement group supporting her. So if you want to say that she is an extremistly soft on crime, then you're saying that about the FOP, you're saying that about the IACP. Go through all the organizations. If I hear another person trying to wrap themselves in the obvious that all 22 of us find abhorrent sexual crimes and somehow want to glorify themselves to being, hey, I'm a prosecutor. Well, both people on both sides. I got my back full of prosecutors over here. And I see noble people that did the Lord's work of prosecuting these crimes as well. But here's the absurdity to say that somehow she is not strong against these cases. Again, these are just lies. A senator just said, I believe the guidelines are right. Well, obviously, Republican appointed judges don't agree with him because the norm in many states is 70 to 80% of judges going before the guideline. And if that statement is correct, then why didn't you vote against every one of those Republican judges that was not following the guidelines, as most don't? You could try to create a straw man here, but it does not hold. And it's just frustrating to me to listen to people trying to create a caricature of a human being whose family is law enforcement, who is a parent, and who is well within the norm on these cases. And again, I'm an elected official just like my colleagues on the other side, so don't believe me. Believe all the victims' rights advocates that have written in on this issue. There are organizations that represent hundreds and hundreds of organizations on victims of all would concur world out here because you come in here lines of what independent groups and law.
We get the point. The point is, and this is part of why I wanted you here. The point is, not really, but the sentencing guideline is largely ignored by federal judges.
Yes.
You forced me to clerk. I didn't clerk at
I forced you to clerk? Okay, continue.
You clerked at a federal court. I didn't. And one of the things that I do know based on the research that I've done is that the sentencing guideline is largely ignored. And while Congress created the guidelines for courts and they intended it to be mandatory, the Supreme Court said absolutely not. Like, you're not going to tie the hand of justice behind their back and prevent them from using discretion. So the question now becomes, well, I'm going to wait for someone to bring this up. I'm not going to bring this up. So I think that the ways in which we are going about the discourse about her record is wrong, about her reluctance to answer certain questions is wrong. But in a moment where I thought we were all going to celebrate, a lot of people are having questions. And one of the questions that I want to bring to you is, when we think about Joe Biden saying, I'm going to pick a Black woman, does that diminish her being chosen and who she is?
Not to me. And I think not to anyone who doesn't have an issue with a Black woman being on the Supreme Court. When Joe Biden said that he was going to nominate a Black woman, it took me back to Reagan. When
Pause.
Pause.
Dean, this is a call out. I am not attacking you. It won't. In the beginning of this, I said I'm going to be cuddling men. So I'm cuddling men tonight. Please click the link and come up. Because I actually want the discourse to happen. I need someone who believes that this diminishes her being chosen. Because I need someone to stand firmly in that, because we need to talk about the system that we live in and what power looks like, who gets to have power, and what qualification actually means when you start operating at a high level. So I need you to come on.
Do you want
Anyway,
me to
go ahead.
still answer? It doesn't diminish her merit to me. I mean, at the end of the day, when you look at her resume, she is not only qualified, but if you compare her to people that are already sitting on the court, her resume is more qualified than many of them. There are people in the Supreme Court who only had 1 year of judicial experience before they were nominated to Supreme Court. Judge Jackson has a decade of being a judge. And obviously being a judge is not the end all be all, but you look at Justice Barrett, you look at Justice Thomas, you look at even Justice Kagan, none of them had the judicial experience that Judge Jackson has. So that alone sets her apart to me. And so I don't see why whatever Biden says or whatever, how that could take away from the fact that just on her record, she's clearly qualified. And I think it shows the fact that no one on the Republican side ever said she's not qualified, right? They said, they sort of did the whole she's soft on crime thing, which is kind of difficult when the FOP is literally saying that they support her. And they said she didn't define what a woman was, which was like their thing. But no one ever dared question her resume and her record. I mean, the woman is one of the most qualified people that has come before the court. I think the only person I can think of that has maybe more judicial experience might be, I know Sotomayor definitely does, and maybe Kavanaugh and Gorsuch, maybe. But in terms of comparing her to the other people on the court, if you pay attention, her resume is impeccable. So I don't understand why Biden, recognizing that we haven't had a Black woman on the Supreme Court and choosing to look to Black women as opposed to ignoring them as they have been for so long, would take away from her resume. Her resume is what it is.
I fear that we are believing in ideas about our own mediocrity. I think so many of us, Black people, have imposter syndrome, which is a real thing, because we have been taught that we aren't good enough, right? Part of the problem is when we think about ourselves as not good enough, we tend to not make the jump or the step that we need to advance in our careers because we are waiting until we feel good enough. The truth is, a lot of people don't know a lot of things. I have sat in meetings where the loudest people are so wrong, I no longer, not fully, but let me reverse. I no longer have imposter syndrome. The reason why is I have sat down, prepared for meetings, and had people who does not. I'm not going to say anyone doesn't deserve to be where they are. You got there how you got there, right? But the brother, sister, cousin, friend got you in the door, and you are loud, taking on projects, want to be project leader, and you don't even know the project. You don't even understand the framework under which we are operating, but you are jumping to take on leaders. When it comes to admissions into school, people talk about, oh my God, affirmative action. No one is talking about legacy admission. And when we get to Georgetown, Yale, Stanford, Harvard, legacy admission is what we need to be talking about. So the loudest people are always wrong. So if you sit in a system that promotes people based on who they know and what they have, and you sit and wait until you feel like you are ready, that you are prepared, that you are going to make the next step, you might never step forward because imposter syndrome is real. You might think it's humility. You might think it's humility now, but I promise you it's stagnating your growth. So when I see this woman who is literally more qualified than most people on the Supreme Court, and you're going to sit there and pretend like she's not qualified, that her position is somehow diminished because Joe Biden announced that he was going to put a Black woman first. Well, you want to know something? I believe, and this is truth, I do not believe that you have a right to positional power because of your race. But I do fundamentally believe that people have been excluded from position and power because of their race. So you don't get to tell this woman that she's not good enough. You're going to have to sit there, buckle up, and watch what she does. You're going to have to read her opinion, figure out what she said in her opinion to see if she can ride. You're going to have to do that, because what we're not going to do is diminish this woman's ability to be a judge because you feel some kind of way. No, you sit in your foolishness and take that somewhere else. I wish you had come on because I wanted to drag you to your face, but it's fine. You're in the chat.
I have so many things I want to say, but I want to divert a little bit because this is like a thing I've been really thinking about a lot. I no longer believe, I won't speak for all Black people, I'll speak for myself. I no longer believe that I ever had imposter syndrome. I think imposter syndrome puts too much on me. I think what I have had all these years is people tell me that I wasn't deserving of the opportunities that I've had. And so then I started to internalize that. So I don't ever say anymore that I have imposter syndrome. I have trauma. I have trauma of people telling me that I do not belong in places and tables that I certainly absolutely do belong in. And I no longer use imposter syndrome because I think that takes away too much of what has been done to me. And I think a lot of people are in that same position, that they do not feel like they belong. They don't feel like they're smart enough, not because it's just this, oh, I don't know, it's just this weird thing I've got going on in my head, but because they've been told that so many times. And so I think when I used to think it was imposter syndrome, I used to be like, I need to get over this. I've got to like, you know, just like push through it. But it's like, no, there's a lot of trauma there. There's a lot of having to like kick out all these negative thoughts that you've been told throughout your life. And so that's my only little tidbit, is I try to get people to stop using the term imposter syndrome, because I think
it's fine. I mean, I have seen this happen to you directly.
Oh my gosh, so many times.
But someone questioned, so we went to school together. We're at this amazing condo, beautiful sky. We're looking over the seas, people drinking, everyone having fun. Someone came to you and decided to question why you got into Georgetown law.
Yep.
Right? Now, this person and I were in the same class. I'm not going to put your GPA out there, but even to say you got in on affirmative action, right? Which you, like, we're not even going to get into this, but even to say that were true, you still had to run the race. It's blind grading. It's not like the professors know you turned in your exam. It's literally blind grading. So for you to be in the top, well, whatever, for you to be doing so well in your
law school, let's just,
and for that person to be doing that poorly in law school, and then to turn to you, because I know your grade, I know his grade. We were in the same class. We got cold call together. You are the one who couldn't answer the question. So the audacity, and this is the thing that I hate. I'm not even going to finish the story. This is the thing that I hate.
I'll finish the story, because all I had to listen. I've been told too many. I had been so used to that. I think his exact phrasing was that I got to check the race box or something when I applied. And I was like, oh, honey, I'm not afraid of my stats. We can have them toe to toe. And what we learned was that getting into Georgetown, I had a higher LSAT score. If we're going to talk about LSAT scores, higher GPA, just overall was a more reasonable candidate. Actually, we learned that he didn't have the stats for Georgetown. And in fact, he knew a senator or someone that vouched for him, which I'm not knocking that. I don't know any senators, okay? I ain't got it like that.
Well, now I do, but yeah.
I mean, it was interesting, though, to see the confidence to say, like, I'm in this seat because, of my race. And then for us to learn through the conversation that he was in the seat because he knew someone. And it's like, so there's an issue with race, if that were true, but there's not an issue with you being here because you happen to have connections. Like, it's just a weird disconnect. And I'm like, if you're going to be so confident to think that you deserve to be here, I'm definitely about to be confident that I deserve to be here.
Yeah, right. So that's what exposure over and over to people who are like just occupying the space so confidently, but so wrong about so many things. Like I'm sitting there like, absolutely not. What you're not going to do is have me feel uncomfortable because you don't know what a tort is. You don't know what negligence is. You cannot tell me what emotional distress is. You don't know what false entrapment. You cannot speak to me about my ability to occupy my space when you're occupying yours so comfortably but don't know anything. You're messed up. Absolutely not. I don't have imposter syndrome. You're not going to tell me what I can and cannot do because you can't do it. You can't do it. And even if I got in here on some vague notion about letting in minorities somewhere, I still ran that race and I was way ahead of you. So what we're not going to do is pretend like you deserve to be here and I do not.
Yeah.
That's what we're not going to do.
But to bring it back to Justice Jackson, anyone who says that she got on the court because she's Black, it always boggles my mind. It's like, if that is true, why isn't the whole court Black? If we're just letting in all the Black folk, there are at least 9 Black women federal district or appellate court judges right now. I mean, we're gonna do it. Might as well just turn the whole court Black women. I'm not complaining about it. If you claim that that's the only reason I were there. In fact, I think what's so interesting is like Justice Jackson is so qualified because she had to be, right? Because there couldn't even be a single thing in her record that could even be looked at as not qualified. Like I said, Justice Barrett look, there's no like criteria, but like she had very little experience with litigation. I don't even think she'd ever tried a case from beginning to end. That was one of the points, which is like weird to me as someone who I've only been practicing for a few years and even I've done that. So, whatever. And she didn't have a lot of judicial experience, but no one really talked about it. But had that been Justice Jackson, oh my God, it would have been a field day. She had to be perfect. She had to have checked every single box. And even when she did do that, it still wasn't enough.
And no one asked her to define woman. No one asked.
I've been seeing a lot of comments like, do we really want a justice who doesn't know what a woman means? And I'm like,
anyone
really
who made that comment is literally remedial in their understanding of politics. If you sat there and made the comment that you don't want Justice Jackson because she does not know how to define woman, you are remedial in your approach to politics. I apologize if that hurts your feelings, but it is the truth. Because if you could not understand why she was even asked the question in the first place, then you don't get it. You don't get it. This was a political show, and that question was part of it. So if you thought it,
it was
they
right
know.
The right is not concerned about this. First of all, to be clear, they're not concerned about this confirmation. At the worst case scenario of this confirmation, it would have been 50-50, and then I'm assuming Vice President Kamala Harris would have been able to then vote. So none of this was about vetting her. It was all politics at play. And right now, the issue of the LGBT, specifically the trans community, is at play. And so this was just a way for them to start making zingers and talking points about that issue. It had nothing to do with Justice Jackson. And I think Justice Jackson was smart enough to pick up on that and say, I'm not going to.
If you asked me that question, if you asked me, I would have said, girl, I don't know.
Chad,
you tell me.
Ask what the relevance was. Is there a case before me where I have to decide that? And if so, I will read the briefs.
You want to know the funny thing about it? What's his name? What's her name? Sorry, it's not his. The lady that asked the question, I think it was.
Yeah, I don't know her name.
Blackburn, right? Okay. They asked her to define woman, right? And some of her colleagues who were talking about it. One person said, these are the people who are mad at her for not being able to define it. A woman is the person who can carry the child.
What about
if you have a hysterectomy, you're not a woman. If you can't have children, you're not a woman. If you're too old, you're not a woman. If you're too young, well, I guess if you're too young, you're not a woman. You can't define woman.
So it's wait, what's the definition that if you can carry a child?
Yeah. One of them, the best definition was the XX chromosome. Like the whole point I'm trying to make is very simple. It is when the question was asked, it was specifically about trans.
Yeah.
Like that's what it was. You can be pro, anti, whatever you want to be. I don't care. My problem with it is if you thought she should have answered in that moment to that, you don't understand what exactly was happening.
No, not at all.
And those people who ask her, the funny part is then they couldn't define woman. They could not define woman
I did
without.
see a politician that defined it as, what did she say? We are the rib of Adam. I said, oh, we're going to the biblical sense. Okay, that's interesting. Why would a Supreme Court justice who's supposed to have separation of church and state answer it that way? But that's interesting. And then she said, we are the weaker sex. I said, oh, that's an interesting definition. And then she said, we are our husband's partners, which I thought, I'm not married, so I guess that I don't know what that means then if that's the definition of woman. But I was like, none of these are really great definitions either. And you guys have had a lot more time to think about the question since it was asked. No, I mean, I agree. Obviously, it was a political move, and Justice Jackson declined to play a role in it. And I think that was the smartest thing to do, especially if she one day has a case before her that deals with issues of trans.
Now she doesn't have to recuse herself.
She doesn't recuse herself because you claim that she's already got some preconceived notion of what the case should be. I mean, I think not answering was absolutely the smartest thing to do. And either people are pretending that they don't understand that, or I don't know.
I don't know. I think for Black people to be mad at her, she has so many obstacles. Like, don't add, like, why are we adding to her obstacles? Like, why? Why is it so important? I mean, I know why some Black men are mad because she's married to a white man, but you're going to stay mad.
I have seen the commentary about her. I did have somebody that texted me and was like, what are your thoughts on the fact that she has a white husband? I said, I don't know what that has to do with her being on the Supreme Court. I didn't know her husband was going to be there with her.
If the white husband go write these, if the white husband go write these opinions,
is he going to be writing the opinions? Is he going to clerk for her? What part of? Also, it's weird because I'm like, this woman was on the DC circuit, which is literally like the second highest court in the land. Y'all were not concerned about any of these things when she was there. What?
There was no way she was going to answer the question without isolating some group.
Yeah.
So they're pissed. And that's that. Just that. The funny thing is, the really pro-trans people are mad she didn't define
Use
it.
that as a moment.
And then the people who are like trans exclusionary are mad she didn't define it. And both of them are saying that she's going to eliminate their rights.
I think what's interesting, though, about being a neutral judge, if both parties are not happy, you've probably done a decent job. Like, you're probably staying unbiased if both parties are a little,
a little shook. I saw a question in the chat, I forgot who, talking about her and child abuse or something like that. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Are we talking about the sentencing guidelines again?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. I am not willing to have that conversation with you in the chat. If you want to have that conversation, please come forward.
I love talking about the sentencing guidelines, even before this case, because I've had to deal with them a lot. And so I actually like that sentencing guidelines are now like a part of a national conversation because they need a lot of reform.
The thing is, I feel like just the phrase sentencing guideline is a part of the discourse, the social milieu right now. I don't actually think the sentencing guideline, because it's hard to go through those. One,
they're really complicated.
So ain't nobody reading it. That's the first thing. People are just like, oh, it's this. No. When you come up here, please get ready to answer questions regarding the sentencing guideline that you think she pushed up.
And as someone who I was an intern, so I wasn't like a full-time, but I was an intern at the U.S. Attorney's Office, so working with prosecutors on a child pornography case, and I actually had to calculate what we were going to argue. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like such a confusing world because you're taking these guidelines that are created by Congress in the abstract and then trying to apply them to an actual case that you have. And it's not the easiest. And clearly when you're working for prosecution, you have your marching orders is to try to figure out how to get that, what's the highest sentence possible. So it's a little bit easier because you're not in a judge's position where you're trying to really look at all the facts and look at mitigating circumstances and do the hard work. But they're complicated, and they're sometimes not fully applicable. And so I think a lot of people are talking about them who've never actually looked at them, who've never had to apply them, who've never had any experience with them. And they're just saying like the sentencing guidelines as if they're the end all be all of how sentencing works. And all the lawyers in the room are like, what is going on? What are these politicians talking about?
And then you want to add to that the fact that trends across courts, not just in the DC circuit, right? Like across federal courts regarding possession of the material versus production of the material, and then the level of engaging in the action, right? Those are vastly different ideas, but the sentencing guideline kind of treats them as one thing. So judges deviate from the sentence. No, I need someone to come on here who is talking in the chat.
I want someone who has actual experience with sentencing guidelines and not just like talking points that don't have substance. Because I'm like, again, I could talk about sentencing guidelines. I think it's a really important and interesting topic, but I don't really want to hear just like she's soft on crime with no further substance, because I don't know what that means.
Oh yeah, and that, unfortunately, that's what you're gonna get today regarding that. And honestly, like, I will just remove people. Like, I am not about to sit here and explain to anyone. I'm not doing it. How the sentencing guideline works, why it's not mandatory, what the trends are nationally regarding sentencing in these kinds of cases, and then add to that the fact that the person who asked the question and was so appalled by her sentencing, literally, the same person literally voted yes without question for Trump's appointees in the federal court system who also had lower sentencing in the same area. We are not going to do that. Oh, I am ready.
I will recuse myself of talking about those other judges.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I understand. I didn't work. I'm fine with it though, so I can drag.
I will recuse. I have reasons I can't speak on any of those other judges.
Yeah, so we can. Someone said, "Is this true?" Wait.
First of all, why are you laughing at that woman's degree? Okay,
no, I'm not. A degree is a degree.
All degrees matter.
Go ahead, Concerned.
I wanted to add that in America, we really prefer discretion. So we set up our justice system, our executive system, and all the above to be able to allow discretion and for us to not have some sort of dictates and mandates and kind of, yes. So when we think about like how we go about this country, I think the question is invalid. What do you guys think about that? Is that clear?
Are you asking if we prefer discretionary sort of sentencing or mandatory sentencing?
I'm not necessarily asking that in terms of a preference. I'm saying that it is aligned with the way that we have run this country. So when you say, oh, you have to follow these rules, like that's not how we set this country up. We don't have a dictatorship. We don't.
I think there is there's some nuance here, right? If we think about the crime bill and the 3-strike rule, right? I think those would be sort of mandatory sentencing ish, right? And then over time, particularly at the state level. So I agree. There is a ton of discretion if we're talking about police and particularly in the executive branch. Yes. In the judiciary branch, there is a ton of discretion when it comes to, not a ton, but I mean, I guess they have discretion in sentencing, but they do tend to, you can watch the trend of the court, right? And even though the legislative branch attempts to like dictate how sentencing should operate, the Supreme Court kind of struck that down, at least with the sentencing guidelines, right? So I mean, there is an element of discretion, and I think we have a lot of discretion. I've seen the legislatures since the 1990s, toughen crime, right? Attempt to take away discretion. I think there is a normative question to ask here, and it's which one would be better. And my legal philosophy tells me that discretion is good because you attempt to convince people of what to do. But I'm also afraid that too much discretion is a bad thing in a world where there's a ton of racists, right?
Absolutely.
So that's my problem. But then also, if you don't have discretion for crimes that aren't as heinous, we might be throwing away people who might have an opportunity to be rehabilitated. And so, like, I actually don't know which one I prefer. Obviously, there needs to be a hybrid system.
Yeah.
But Vanessa, you go
Here
ahead.
are my
Take this.
thoughts. So one, I saw a comment that said something about the guidelines are law and you have to follow them. That's like the most
No.
inaccurate thing I think I've heard tonight. I think that's the only thing I can say definitively false. The guidelines are not mandatory. I think Themis has already said it, but they're not mandatory on judges. They are a guideline. They are to help judges. And I think it's important to have some sort of guide and structure in general, because you don't want there to be great, each judge kind of just doing their own thing and living in their own bubble, because then even as a criminal defendant, as a prosecutor, as the defense, you have no idea what the sentence could look like or should look like, right? So we want everyone going into this kind of having an understanding of like what may occur, what are the boundaries. Also, to be clear, judges are mandated by law to consider things outside of the sentencing guidelines. They must consider mitigating factors. It is a part of their obligation. So they cannot just look at someone, say you're guilty, and not look at anything else and just sentence you. If that's what judges, I think that's what some judges do, but if that's what they were openly admitting that they were doing, they would not actually be doing their job as mandated by Congress, as mandated by the Supreme Court. They have to look at mitigating circumstances. They have to look at everything, the totality of everything before they sentence someone. Sentencing is a really complicated, very difficult thing to do. And that is why there has to be some level of discretion, because every single case that comes before that judge is going to be different. And only that judge is the only person that has all the facts in front of them for that particular case to make that decision. Do judges sometimes get it wrong? Yeah, they're human beings. And so am I saying that Justice Jackson, always 100% of the time, sentence someone to something I agree with? No, but no justice or judge could, right? She has so many different cases. And so there's a lot that I'm trying to get out. But one thing I want to make clear is that there is no law that says you must sentence someone to what the sentencing guideline says. If that were the case, then there would be no need for judges.
Yeah, but
right?
I love that you said there would be no need for judges, but also people ignore the fact that if judges were supposed to look at the case and the law only and then make a decision like that, there would be no need for attorneys, right?
Yeah, why would you have to argue? Why would you have, first of all, there's sentencing, most of the time with sentencing guidelines, when someone's convicted, both sides write a sentencing memo, and also probation usually writes their own memo too. You have the prosecutors that'll say, this person deserves this much time, here are all the reasons why, based on these enhancements, based on what they did. Defense will come in and they'll make their own arguments for what the sentence should be after the person's been found guilty, usually in a memo, and usually these are very long, they're very drawn out, they'll have all of these like very personal facts about the defendant. They'll make their arguments. Probation will usually have their own recommendation as well for what the sentence should be. And then the judge has to take all of that into consideration and then make a sentence. But if, like what you're saying, if it was just like, okay, they're guilty, they did this crime, here's a sentence, nobody would be needed. There would be no conversations. I'd be out of a job.
I won't be.
Oh, well, I want to get a job. I find something else to do. But, it's so much more complicated than what is being said in the confirmation hearings. And it's, for me, very frustrating as someone who's had to do that work. It's really difficult. And every case you take so seriously because it's someone's life that's at stake. And now people are just like, oh, she's violating the sentencing guidelines and she's soft on crime. It's just such a oversimplistic way to
And-
look at a really
and-
complicated process.
And if you step back for a second, and this is why I don't understand why people like my audience is smart. And that's something that I really appreciate. A lot of the women who come on, I like engaging with. But there are people who just won't go and do research, and maybe it's hard because if someone say, "Oh, Justice Jackson is pro," you know what? I won't say here, right? Go look at her record, right? So on possession, she's softer because the sentencing guideline doesn't delineate, but you can say, oh, she is an apologist. But then you look and compare her to what her peers are doing, and it's generally the same. All right. And this is not Democrat or Republican, it's the same. So you're like, okay.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that. Because one thing I want to say that I have learned I've worked with multiple federal district court judges. They are not as politically divided as like I think people think in their head. A lot of the times, and I'm talking about the federal courts, Democrat or Republically appointed, they're looking at cases the same way. Like judges tend to be moderate. They tend to be, which I'm not saying that's good or bad, but they're not calling her extremist is just, I'm like a federal district court judge. Like there are very few federal district court judges that do anything extreme. They really are like, just like trying to look at the facts of their case, trying to apply the law that is, and trying to figure out what the right solution is based on what the law requires. Like I know it sounds boring, and I know what the politicians are saying sounds sexier. It's not that sexy. It's really just hard work. And
and the people who engage in this are on both sides seem to come out even like they're all kind of doing the same thing. But then you look at her cases for production, right, and engagement, and you see that she really penalizes people who engages in this behavior. And it's like, you got to say she's all right, I see someone. So I feel like I'm going to regret this, but thank you so much, Concern.
I had one more thing to add, just one more. And it's an encouragement to Vanessa and to all the Black women that we are the majority of your audience. I've experienced what you mentioned in terms of learning how to validate yourself and belong to yourself. And it's so important because when I think about how many times I've been gaslit, how many times I've searched for answers, and be it family, be it at work, in so many different places, it's so important to know yourself and to check external metrics to validate what's going on so that you can have a way forward that isn't so bogged down by input. Because one of the things, and I would love all the people who are in my circle of influence to do, is to recognize that who you are matters. It's not about the averages. It's not about what everybody else would do. It's about your self-actualization. And so it's so even if people disagree with your choice, only God knows what the outcome is going to be. Hindsight is 2020, but 2020, it's only 2020 because we realize what the other factors you couldn't have seen in that moment were. So you make a choice right now. God knows if there's going to be a global health crisis in 2020. Everybody had their 2020 plans, And so when I think about being confident in yourself and trusting yourself, and also knowing what you want and silencing those outer voices, I just really want to echo what you experienced, because I literally took. I didn't get another degree, even though I'm big on degrees. I love education, buy a lot of courses myself, not knocking degrees. I didn't get an extra degree. I didn't do anything else but learn how to believe in myself and write my resume like I believed in myself, and I doubled my income. So when you think about who you are and what value add, everybody's positioning. What if you actually positioned yourself as somebody who had the gusto as a mediocre white man? You would be surprised how far you get. And so I just want to I'm not trying to derail, But what you said really resonated with me, Vanessa. Even and I know you had the stats to back it up, and I'm sorry you had that experience. I just wanted to champion that and give my own experience in just learning how to identify with yourself and calm the voices around you that are going to try to distract you and use you as a pawn for what they're doing. Because guess what? If you feel lonely, you're going to do the work for them. That's what usually happens. Like, you'll have mediocre people employing intelligent people to make them look good. That's what actually usually happens.
Dean, you don't get to speak in the chat until you come up, just FYI. Thank you so much, Concern.
I want to say something about one of the comments you clicked that said, like, Justice Jackson and Sotomayor are like the two least, something about them not being qualified. And I think that's so funny because they are by far two of the ones with like the most judicial experience before going on the Supreme Court. I think just Judge Sotomayor had a decade of being an appellate judge. So Justice Jackson has a decade of being a judge total, but Sotomayor, I love Sotomayor, but she had almost a decade of being on the Second Circuit and then also had district court experience. So it's interesting to me that the person chose two people that have had the most judicial experience to say that they're the least qualified, and they just both happen to be the only two women of color. So I thought that was
well, my dear lady.
Wait 1 second.
I don't know if that was him that said the comment, but I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Can they just let Justice Jackson live her best life, please? Period. And let her go back to school, retake your boil water and intricate basket. We're not coming for degrees. Thank you so much.
I don't come for people's degrees.
All right. Before Lynn would go, Bleep, what say you? I'm confident we're gonna have a great convo right now, Bleep. You're on mute. Bleep.
Oh, there we go. Well, let's see. I am definitely happy for this. This occasion in American history. No, I mean, my only concern is this, though, is that this woman's private life with her husband.
Wait. Why does that concern you?
No. Let me finish real quick, because I know you want to pounce on the tag and make me be the big bad guy. But I think it's beautiful. But I feel like keep that whole private life and don't weaponize it for any purposes whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? That's my biggest concern about this, though. I mean,
how did she weaponize her?
No, not you. I'm not saying she's doing it, but I feel like people, especially people in the comment section, people following this, don't take away because of a marriage to a white guy. I think a lot of people, especially people in the comment section, are taking away from whole particular contributions and the whole hard work. You know what I mean?
I understand.
You know what I mean? And that's the trend that I keep seeing that quite literally sickens me. On one hand, you have these unqualified white men in the podium, completely racist, chastising her at every job, asking her questions that are completely unrelated to her job. On the other hand, you have these self-hating black women who say, oh, because she married a white guy, that's why this is also great. And they're writing articles about that, trying to sell books.
Bleep. Are black women, are people saying because she married a white man, she's successful?
Well, I feel like this idea that this, and I'm seeing this in the comment section right now, but I don't know if it's bots who are doing that, because I know bots can exist out there, but I feel like from some circles out there, I feel like somebody said, well, this is why you're a dating white guy, this is why you gotta do this. Focus on this woman's contribution and what she did, no representation. You know what I mean? That's what I've always hated about that conversation.
So your perspective is that people should just not talk. You're talking about people, not her, but people shouldn't talk about her marriage in general.
No, it shouldn't even come up.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It shouldn't even come up. You know what I mean? I just want to focus on this woman and what she did and the hard work it took to get there. Mm-hmm. You know? And the hard work it took to get there. You know? Mm-hmm. And I guarantee you it was a lot. And my thing is, oh, who being with the white guy was the smooth part.
Bleep, I will note something. You do realize we haven't even mentioned her husband at least not even once.
I know, but that's my little soapbox.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because usually when these conversations go based off the comment section, I just feel like, yeah, bring that up. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? But I know you're making it a very intelligent, very informed conversation. I know you are, but I feel like a lot of people don't catch up to that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that like I wasn't intentionally trying to stay away from her husband, but like I honestly didn't even think about her husband. I was celebrating a Black woman.
Yeah. Please celebrate the woman. You know what I mean? Please celebrate the woman. You
I
know?
think it's beautiful he supports her, and like from what she's talked about her husband and her children, and she's talked about the support that she's gotten from him. So I think that it's beautiful that she has a husband that supports her and has been there for her. But I mean, that's kind of my only opinion. I don't know her husband, and I haven't done anything.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Make it about this amazing, and you know, it kind of pisses me off when I see these unqualified crackles. I'm gonna say because we all Black sit there and basically penalize this woman like that, or asking the questions to put the old lady to do a job.
Wait,
I can't say that. You too?
No. Wait, why do you feel the need to disparage Black women now?
What? Why do you mean I'm disparaging Black women when I say that?
What did you just call them?
No, I said crackles. I was just talking about white guys.
Oh, I thought you said something.
Yeah, I love crackle. I mean, white guys. You know what I mean? I'm talking about white men. I'm talking about white men.
I think you might have issues with white people separately, but that's
we all do. It's Black. I mean, come on. But this is my thing about that. Yeah, I'm talking about the people on the podium and you ask these stupid questions. I mean, come on. I mean, because celebrate this woman's, but it's kind of sad that a woman in this day and age, a woman still has to go through that at whole level and everything she works for, and we have to go through that, you know?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
But I'm all about celebrating. See, I can have a little intelligent conversation. See, I didn't even say daddy. See, now someone can drink, and someone in the comment section can drink when I said daddy, so now you get to have your drink.
Period. So Bleep just proved that he can, in fact, have an intelligent conversation. So take that, everyone in the chat. Thank you, Bleep. Have a great day.
Yoink.
All right. Linwood, and then Bleep's rep.
Oh, is that the same guy that was trolling before?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Linwood.
Brothers and sisters, how's the day going so far?
Good. Celebrating a Black woman doing what needs to be done.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, it was expected because he said, "Hey, look, when I get elected, I'm putting a Black woman on the court." I mean,
but it could be any Black woman. It was that Black woman.
Yeah, it's that particular non-white female he put on the court. But I don't think it changes the dynamics of non-white people's position in the United States of white supremacy. I think this is a symbolic gesture that they just kind of gave to us to shut us up. Oh, you're going to be happy now. You got yourself a justice. Now, make sure you get out there and vote in the hold on, sir. Make sure you get out there and vote in the midterms, because you know something? Those Republicans, you see what they did to your girl? You see what they did to her? That's why you need to vote. And that's all this is all. It's like, as Tariq Nasheed said, this is all butter biscuits. That's what they gave us. They gave us some biscuits.
Did you just quote Tariq Nasheed?
I mean, yes, I'm quoting him. I
don't know who that is.
Oh, you're lucky.
Will just give us some butter biscuits and tell us to shut up, or vote the next term. But in reality, nothing tangible would get done.
How do you get things done? All right, let's talk. I like this. So you were here talking about building. So I'm here for this. I love this conversation. How do we as Black people build?
Well, for starters, Black people got to get on a code of conduct, because right now we're all over the place. We got Black Lives Matter that's basically spending blood money.
Wait, stop. I don't want to go over the world, but I want to focus it. Do we operate in the system which would mean Justice Jackson being on the Supreme Court is a good
Well,
thing.
once
Or do,
again,
wait. Or do we overthrow the system? Where do you stand?
once again, working within it is maintaining it,
All right,
because
so we should overthrow it.
all you're doing is mainly being
Wait, I just,
terms and adding a seat.
great. So we should overthrow it.
I believe so, because it's not.
What do we replace it with?
Replace it with a system of justice, which guarantees that no person is mistreated, and
Wait,
guarantees
how do
the
you
person who
guarantee?
needs help the
Wait,
most.
no. These are ideas that are very sort of ephemeral, right? Like they're out there. I'm asking you, what
Well, sir,
does
justice is better than just being comfortable.
I guess my thing is I think I don't disagree with sort of these broad ideas. I think living in a world where there's justice and justice is always done sounds really great. I guess I'm trying to understand the concrete steps to get to that world when we're human.
Well, the concrete steps for non-white people in general, and Black people in particular, to get there is to be on code. And what I mean by code, is the compensatory counter-racist code, in which we are counteracting racism, white supremacy, in all of our thought, speech, and action.
How do we counteract white supremacy?
Well, if you don't understand if you don't know Nellie Fuller Jr. or Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, I can't really.
I do know Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, and so I'm asking you specifically: how do we do the overthrowing of white supremacy?
I'm trying to explain it to you, but it seemed like to me you're basically want to just hold hands with white supremacists and just say,
okay, say that is true. Let's say I'm a white let's say that is true.
Let us please let us at the table.
I'm not you're not going to interrupt me when I speak. It's not going to happen. You're on mute. I cannot hear you. So if you're saying we need to overthrow the system, my question to you is how? Now, keep in mind that we don't have, well, actually, go ahead, answer the question before I get into what we don't have.
I'm trying to explain it, but bottom line is, it seems to me that Black people are more comfortable with being.
I don't care what Black people are comfortable with. I'm literally asking you, and I said I would cuddle people, and I won't be like.
I think we want to hear what your viewpoint is, and not what you're focusing so much on your opposition's viewpoint and what's wrong with that, which doesn't really help get your point across. So, like, what the concrete steps? What are your viewpoints? Not what the other side.
You have 460 people.
My views is very simple. We need to attempt to produce a system of justice by ourselves, guaranteeing that no person will be mistreated.
Okay.
How do we create a system of justice for ourselves when we make up 13%?
Wait a minute. Well, you know what? This is like a dead horse beating dog. Okay, I give in. Okay, so you want to keep the system, white supremacy going?
No.
Let's just go ahead
and
let's hold hands.
Pause. Because no one has said. Okay, you're doing this thing where Themis is questioning you and asking you for more concrete answers, and instead of answering it, you're then telling Themis what his viewpoint is. He's never given a viewpoint.
Well, because he's sitting on the panel basically saying, okay, well, we got a
He's asking you questions about your perspective.
What's next?
I am muting you again.
No, wait, hold on. He's just asking you questions to explain your perspective. If you can't answer questions about your own perspective, then that's, okay. But just because someone asks you a question about your perspective doesn't mean they're disagreeing with you. So if you can't answer the questions,
I'm trying to answer the question, but as like I always expect from non-white people in a system of white supremacy, once you've kind of put the rad on people, which is called racism avoidance disorder, they believe that just putting a Negro or a wetback on the Supreme Court, that's progress. But
I'm sorry, who did you just refer to as a wetback?
All right, let me die. I'm done.
Is that Justice Jackson?
I'm not done with you. We need to get specific. So you keep diagnosing, which is what All Hail King V has said. You are diagnosing. That's fine. I am asking you now all right, well, are you still there? Apparently not.
I'm so confused. I don't think you can say broad, general ideas that I'm not rejecting or upset about, but when asked questions about how to implement them, get upset.
I think you now understand. I'm glad I see
I'm
you
so stressed.
interacting. No, I'm glad I see you interacting because it's so difficult for me and I have to withhold myself because a lot of people come on and it's like everyone is like, oh, you're attacking. Like, no, I'm asking you a question and you're now
You literally
frustrating
just
me.
asked a question. I don't even think you've given a. I don't even have an opposing viewpoint because I don't understand what the. Less. I think everyone would agree that we want a world that is just. How do we get to it? And why is that world so counter to Justice Jackson being on the court? What is it like? What is
Well,
it?
because Justice Jackson or Justice Sotomayor, these are all symbolic gestures that because they do this all the time. And if you pay attention to how the system functions, mind you, she got on the court, and yes, the charges about the non-white gentleman who was killed by race soldiers in Minneapolis, those charges were dropped. But we're celebrating, but another kid is shot dead.
All
You
right.
see how they
Can
give
you
us?
come back
See how
on
they do that?
camera?
So I guess
Lynn,
my question to you
no,
is
no,
if
no.
they had
Vanessa.
appointed a white person instead of Justice Jackson, what would that have been?
Nothing.
So why are you mad about her if there's no?
I'm not mad about anything. What I'm most upset about is that she was mainly being used as a political pawn.
Okay.
The usual spill that the Democratic Party does all the time. They failed to get a pre-clearance, on the books. They failed to get the Build Back Better. They're losing credibility with their voters. So this is what they're trying to do now.
Okay,
Appeal to non-white voters, in particular black voters, and treating us like dogs. Treating us like dogs. Like, okay, we'll give
All
you
right, wait.
like last year. They gave us
I agree with
Juneteenth.
you.
I understand your point. Okay.
Wait, can you come back on? Wait, can you come back on camera? Because I actually agree with the point that we're not being treated well. Are you not coming back on camera? Are you out? Like,
I mean, also, I just want to say that I don't think anyone has said, and I haven't seen it. Maybe someone has. I don't think anyone has said Justice Jackson's on the court. Life's great for Black folk. I don't think that's been. I mean, first of all, like Justice Marshall was on the court a long time ago, and clearly life was still difficult. Clarence Thomas has been on the court for quite some time. I mean, I don't think anyone thinks that
Thomas has been on the court.
Some of y'all try to say he's not Black. He is Black, okay? I've seen enough comments trying to, that man is a Black man, regardless of his viewpoint. So I don't think anyone is under some weird belief that having Black people on the Supreme Court means that there are no more issues. I mean, then we wouldn't have been fighting for, I don't even know when Marshall was on the court. It was a very long time ago. So that I don't think anyone's suggesting that. So I think you're fighting a battle that no one's even brought up.
Back against. You have no
I
enemy
don't
in
think
the battle.
I don't think anyone is saying life for Black folk is going to be perfect now, or equalities, is here and now. I think people are just happy for an individual Black woman and her success and her hard work. I think that's all it is.
I'm happy about that, but again, ladies and gentlemen, what it really is another political. Keep giving symbolic gestures. They're giving us, little tokens here and there. It's like opposite going to the
Maybe we
major
should
league,
stop asking for things.
Condition
Maybe
of
we
the
should
people.
stop asking for things because if they're giving us things, maybe we should start taking things. Is that where we should do? Because people with power aren't just going to give you power. Like no one is going to be like, okay, I'm the president of this company, but I'm just going to make you the president now. So you are now equal to me. So we should just take power. Like we can't be asking for handouts. Would you agree with that? You're on mute.
I think he's having connectivity issues. Should we?
Yeah, we can move to the next person.
Yeah.
Completely off topic, but I'm curious if Linwood is an Umar supporter. I say yes, since he quoted Tariq. Any bet in the chat?
I feel like I'm so out of time. I don't know who these people are. Well, I know Dr. Umar is, but
yeah. Wait. So, do you think power is given? Because you keep talking about given. Is power given or taken? Get off mute. All right, Lynn's rep, explain for us what's happening.
All right. So Linwood is bringing up a very real concern. I'm going to start kind of with a conversation you were having earlier about Joe Biden's choice to say we need a Black woman on here and whether or not that diminishes her accomplishment. I think that's where Linwood is going. I'm finding it difficult to
No,
represent
that's
him.
not.
I don't think that's where he's going, but if that's where you want to go ahead.
Yeah, if that's where you want to go, please take it there.
So this is not a conversation about the Supreme Court justice. This is a conversation about any Black people on any job that has programs in place, or any schools that have programs in place to help Black people. And my thoughts are that those programs are needed. Like you said earlier, we are behind, and that is due to some systemic reasons and racism, slavery, etc. Right? So we need those programs. I consider them reparations, right? We need these programs because we are behind in the first place. I don't think it's fair to judge us for having crutches when we don't have the use of our legs like white people do. Now, Joe Biden's choice of words, if Joe Biden had said something like, we need Black representation, we need Black woman representation, like you were saying earlier, these people have been kept from these positions that they are qualified for due to our racial hiring preference, whatever, that would have been much better than I'm the next woman I'm hiring is a Black woman. I think maybe his verbiage was
his verbiage was not. Verbiage was not.
I don't think anyone's ever given him any awards for his ability to speak eloquently, so I'm not going to disagree with you there.
And also, part of our negotiation was about Black representation when he ran. So now we are saying, oh, he because he said Black woman, her being chosen somehow diminished that. I think people who believe that just want her position to be diminished, because if he had gone and plucked a random Black person from Timbuktu and just chucked them on there and they weren't qualified, then we would be like, period, you don't deserve
I'd be
it.
the first one to be like, absolutely not. Because
yeah. But when this person is qualified, like, we can look at the qualification outside. Like, we know there is a bar, and the bar that prevents people from access to power is race. So if that bar is removed by saying, I'm going to put someone Black there, now the question is the person being put there qualified? And the answer quite clearly is yes. More qualified, at least, than most of the people who are on the Supreme Court or who have ever been on the Supreme Court. So I don't understand the questioning of her capacity to be there or her resume. Like,
yeah,
I mean,
and I think from Joe Biden's perspective, I think he definitely, first of all, I want to, it's so hard to do it because of the media and like the way politics are, but there is a divide between like judges and justices and what they do in politics, right? Just because Justice Jackson's on the court does not mean you need to go vote for Biden in the next election. You can be both happy for her and her accomplishments and amazing and still be skeptical of him. So, I mean, anyone who thinks otherwise, I mean, okay, whatever, right? So I don't really particularly care for that viewpoint. But from a if we're looking at politics, Joe Biden owed Black women, right? His whole, like, the whole speech about, like, the reason why he was president is because of the work on the backs of Black women, right? If he hadn't been for, and I'm like blanking on her name now, from Georgia, Stacey Abrams, and the work that she did in Georgia, I don't know where he would be. If it wasn't for even Kamala Harris supporting him and kind of, I mean, we have viewpoints on Kamala, but, you know, if it wasn't for her, and there were so many other countless unnamed Black women that were supporting him. So I think from his perspective, politically, he probably felt like he needed to do something, and that was his gesture, sure, but that doesn't mean that I have to receive that, accept that, and say, Joe Biden now gets my vote. I don't.
Let's be clear. Break all of that down to Joe Biden owes us. And
Joe Biden owes us, and just because he thinks that he paid us doesn't mean that I feel paid.
Yeah, but not only that, American owes Black people generally, in my opinion. I'm going to stick by that, whatever. But you don't get to sit here and say, "Oh, they just give us crumbs." Okay, then go take what's yours. Linwood, go take. What is stopping you from go taking what you think you deserve? Please explain to me what is stopping you.
I don't think he's
Connection issues. That's fine. But I'll continue to speak to you as if you were still here. What is stopping you from going to take what is yours? If there is something stopping you, please explain to us what it is and if it means you're subjugated. If so, then maybe we have to operate in a system that we don't like. If not, and you want to change the system, please explain to me what this new system is going to be, because I want to know what system I am going to be with you overthrowing this system to create. I'm not just going to overthrow a system and then we'll just wing it. Like, I'm not going to do that with anyone. So I am here for you saying we need a just system.
I'm here for anarchy, by the way. I'm not a
Like, we will overthrow the system with you, sir.
let me know what it. Well, I don't know. It sounds a little treasonous, so maybe I won't say that. I do like I like being barred, but at least let me know what you want me to jump into.
Yeah, like I'm here. Like, let me jump, but I'm not gonna jump out the pot and into the fire. So you're gonna have to give me oh, he's back. If this was a black man, we'd be in the street celebrating, but because it's a black woman, qualified or not, they feel we don't. Yeah, I think that's what it is. They're like, be happy, but cautionary tale. But don't caution me. I'm gonna be happy.
But I will say I will recognize my privilege in terms of I made a joke about
you asked me.
You're gonna wait till Vanessa.
I was gonna sort of come to his aid a little bit and say, I think there are people in the United States that have that live such terrible conditions, right, and that are so marginalized that like anything is better than this system, right? And I want to be serious for a second and acknowledge that is true. And so for some people, it's like, I don't even care what this new system is. I don't care what it is. Destroy this, because the current system I'm currently living in is so bad that anything is better than that. I do think those people exist. I am not one of those people, and I recognize my privilege in that. I want a more just world, but I have questions. Where are we going? I've never been a ride or die person. So if you're going to try to talk me out of this system, which isn't great, I need clear guidance on where we're going. Me personally.
Same. He doesn't know that is the issue. Yeah. All right, come. Linwood, go ahead. Explain to us what's happening.
Yes, sir. I was trying to answer your question, but I think we got lost on the technical difficulty issue. But I hope you can hear me so we can have a constructive conversation. Okay, it's going to take each individual person thinking and speaking and acting in a constructive way in whatever area of activity that you're into.
I'm going to stop you right there.
If you're in education.
No. I'm going to stop you right there. If it's going to take each individual person to be constructive and acting that way, it's never going to happen. It's a pipe dream that's never going to happen. No, like human beings we don't operate that way. We are going to have to create a system that tells people what to do. Not every single person, we can't even get 452 people on the same page online. You think we're going to get every single person to operate and be constructive? You're living in a pipe dream, and that's not reality. So next, go again.
And I just want to add, I think.
Okay, well, sir.
Sorry, I just want to go back to
my point. My point's pretty much mute.
All right.
Well, one last point I want to make. It does bother me that, and maybe you make these points all the time, I don't know, but it does bother me that when there's a discussion about celebrating this Black woman, it's like, stop celebrating. Here's this viewpoint that you could have had any other time. You can talk about overthrowing, I don't know, whatever the system is anytime, but why is it seems sometimes it's only when we're celebrating Black women and uplifting Black women that we want to then have this discussion about like, well, none of this means anything. So I guess if you're gonna have that discussion, don't just bring it up when we want to celebrate Black women.
Yeah. Well, ma'am, this is my first time on your panel. I've been talking about this before I even knew who this woman was.
Okay.
I've been talking about this when the Republicans were in power. I've been talking about this for a significant period since I started reading, the works of Neely Fuller and Dr. Frances Cress Welsing about the need for a just and correct system. I've been talking about this for about 4 years or more, 4 to 6 years. been, you know,
And
so
wait,
it's
Linwood,
I'm
I
not
think
just
we
dogging
we
this.
agree with you. I don't think anyone, maybe we have a consensus. I don't think anyone in the chat would say we don't want a just system. I think everyone, literally everyone, would agree that we would want a more just system. We agree. That is not the problem. The problem is getting there. And if one of the criteria for creating this paradise is that every single person act in accordance to that which is productive to the world, to themselves, it's not gonna happen. We can't even get the people in here to like the stream. Someone, I didn't make that up. Someone posted the comment, and I thought that was such a good thing. But so what I'm saying is, if that is your dream, it's gonna stay a dream if it requires people to act, everyone to act in that way. And when you said your point was moot, I felt crappy because I like the world you posited. The thing is, if the causal mechanism for it to come to fruition is that everyone act a certain way, it's not going to happen. So I was hoping when I push back and say that, you would then say, okay, well, here is another avenue. But you are like, oh, then my point is moot. So if that's the only thing you have, then it's just
Well,
not giving.
well, I said mine is mute. I feel like, you know, maybe being on code is not quite where the collective of us are. So, or even individual, as you just said
Wait,
a few
pause.
seconds
So
ago in your discussion,
I like
you
that
can't
though.
even get 4 people. So can you hear me?
Yeah.
I
Go
don't
ahead.
want to
I mean,
disrupt you if you can
no.
speak.
But what I'm saying though
You want to
is
speak?
like,
You know,
even the
when you said
code,
that,
who writes the code? Who develops the code? Like, what is the
What is the
code?
code?
well, the code is the leader. Well,
Is the who?
we develop it because the code is the leader. The code is the leader. The code is the leader. You lead. You are the leader. You know, you're not following a group. You're not following an organization. You are it.
Okay.
Well,
You are it.
I am the code.
I'm
No,
still
sir,
stuck
I
on
am
even
the code.
justice. Because what is just? Because I mean, everyone has a different view of what justice looks like, right? Like if you ask me versus Jeff Bezos, I'm sure we have very different ideas of what a just world looks like. So I don't understand even going back to even like we're saying, oh, we all love a world like it's just, but it's like we don't even have the same definition of what that is. So this feels very kumbaya, and I'm just like, I'm not seeing it.
Because someone said code took black men out of the home.
What's TBM?
Took black men out of the home.
Oh! I do know that inside joke. I'm familiar.
Wait, what is that? Can you explain?
Maybe
What is
that's
that?
the code. I don't know what that is.
This is the
It's a
book I'm
book?
talking. This is the code book I'm talking about.
Okay, so it's an actual code that's written down. So it's like a constitution type thing. Okay, so there's a text. Okay, I thought the code was an abstract concept, so this is helpful.
All right. Well, good. So I am not the code.
The code is an actual text.
Period. So we have our constitution.
You have a constitution.
Oh,
There
we have
go.
2 constitutions.
We got some concrete. Okay.
All right. Well, period.
I actually say also. I also say use the Constitution as well. I do say that. Definitely use it. It's the greatest weapon
So
of
keeping the
all.
Constitution,
Use it.
and even though we're overthrowing,
Use it to counter racism.
Period.
Yeah, I do.
I'm here
Have
for
it
it.
right
So
here.
Themis, I want to be mindful of time.
oh yeah,
I have
thank
to
you.
Go at some point.
Well, Linwood, thank you so very much. The code is the code. The U.S. Constitution. Period. You
I
better
have one.
have it.
I have a copy of that as well somewhere.
You have the Bible. Is the Bible part of the code?
I have the Bible too. Bible and the Constitution.
Linwood, when you get this together, you have a platform now you can come back to and present to the people a code of conduct, and I will let you I'll
Really?
I can.
I was actually invested. I wanted to learn.
Girl, I checked out the minute he said, let me stop. Tariq Nasheed. But anyway, so let us go. Linwood's rep, go ahead. We're gonna wrap this up now.
I just want to reiterate the code. I have read the code before. It's a joint project by Bill Cosby and Art Kelly.
What?
Linwood is onto something, right? There is an option to overthrow the system. We don't just have to work within. And I think what we need to do that is give power to Black men. I think they've done okay. I think they've done good in the community once they have power. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, okay.
They'll have their kingdom, period, and they'll be kings.
I think I snorted.
Period. Well, thank you, Linwood Rep. I think you did him justice today. He would be very proud. Truth teller, and then me, not me, and then we're done.
Wow. I'm sorry. I'm like now suddenly at a loss for words. I think the conversation that Linwood was raising could have been interesting because it's something that I myself has been. It could have been. It had potential, but it just wasn't coming together. But to that end,
Wait, pause. No. I think he read a bunch of books, heard a bunch of Tariq Nasheed's speech and Dr. Umar's speech, and like he could string together like justice, and then he was like justice.
Yeah, I don't like people getting mad when someone's literally just asking you to articulate your viewpoint. It hasn't even opposed your viewpoint.
Well, I mean, if your talking points have no depth, then you are going to be mad if it's interrogated. And that's the
Why are you
thing.
mad at me that you have no depth?
Right? Why would you come on? Like, I keep wondering, like, I just don't understand.
In his mind, it was making sense in his mind.
Probably. This is the problem with an echo chamber, though. If you're in an echo chamber and people just keep validating the foolishness that you say, then you go out of that echo chamber and you want to get mad at people when they question that which you've presented. But like any random person is going to question you. Like, no. So I'm glad seeing your reaction, Vanessa, makes me feel good in that it's like, okay, I'm not crazy. Like, this is like ridiculous at this point. Like, how are you mad at me for asking question? You keep positing what I believe, and okay, fine, I believe all of that, but you haven't answered my question. So where are we now? Nowhere. Anyway, go ahead, continue, truth teller.
Yeah. So as I was saying, if he would have, had a more thought out perspective, for me, as it pertains to, I think what he's trying to say, or at least I've heard those conversations and objections, not only with regard to Justice Ketanji's appointment, but other things that the Democratic Party has done for Black people. I've heard the rhetoric about it being mostly symbolic and not substantive enough in terms of making real economic impact, in terms of striving to correct the wrongs that have plagued the Black American community, right? And so to that end, I do have the question, like, why is there not enough? And I celebrate fully Justice Ketanji's appointment or whatnot. And I agree with what you're saying, Vanessa, in that you don't have to take away from that by bringing up that point. But in Linwood's defense a little bit, it's a conversation that's been happening, that I've been observing happening for a long time, especially since Biden, until this appointment, have not been holding up to his part of the bargain, right? With what Black people, especially Black women, have done in terms of helping him to be elected. So I think Linwood did have a point in that regard. But for me, my concern has always been, and I'm Canadian, but I know a lot about like Black American history, not a lot, but I've studied it to a certain extent, is the conversation around reparations and what it is. I think he does have a point with what is it that Black Americans really want in terms of reparations and what that will look like, and the capacity of the American government and the political will to have that be accomplished. Because I think there's a legitimate concern to say that with affirmative action and like some of these other things that has been done, Black Americans were promised 40 acres and a mule. Where is the 40 acres and a mule? Do you know what I mean? Like there needs to be, I feel like Black American people do need to come on code with regard to what does reparations look like, and are you going to like forge ahead to challenge the government to fulfill on the promise that they made all those years ago? Because that is the biggest thing that Black Americans are suffering from is a lack of economic opportunity.
Yeah.
That
Wait,
is
Linwood, wait, let me read this. Linwood is using the term that pro-Blacks and followers of Neely Fuller would say, if you don't understand racism, white supremacy, it will only confuse you, is what they say without detail.
Well, let me be, I'm confused.
Yeah, well, me too. Go ahead, start.
Yeah, I think what Truth Teller is saying is she should have been Linwood's representative.
Truth Teller was putting words in his mouth, but that's neither here nor there. You better be his attorney. I'm kidding.
Yeah. I agree with everything that you just said. Yeah, I don't even have anything to add to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's all, and it's and truly it's something that so much so it's bothered me that I've had to pray about it, child, because I'm like, it's a lot, because I feel like Black Americans have contributed so much to the fabric of American society, and time and again, I almost kind of feel like, and I struggle with this, I'm like, it's kind of rude and feisty. Like they gave reparations to the Japanese with the internment that happened in World War II. The Jew, like there's a precedence for it within America. And apparently too, they even gave some sort of reparations to Jewish people in America for what happened in World War II in Germany, when America did not directly, at least not to my knowledge, oppress the Jews. So if you can find it to give them some sort of monetary recompense, then why are you still not doing that for African Americans? Like there's something there that just doesn't right with me.
Yeah. Thank you, Truth. Oh my God. So Linwood came backstage, but like,
can we focus on who is on here?
Yeah.
And yeah. And I think Me Not Me has been waiting for
Me Not Me. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi guys. I actually don't have any comments on, Linwood's stance. I think everything that needed to be said has already been said, as far as my opinions on that matter. But, I kind of wanted to focus a little bit on this terminology and just the situation of legitimacy, and the deservedness, of our brand new justice. And I think that part of it is we have to start changing the terminology that we use instead of, because what Biden said, I do see the trouble in it. And it's something that we've all kind of been doing as a community for quite a while. It's always the first Black person to do this, or the first Black person to achieve this, or to be allowed to achieve this. And I think that we have to change that. And I think the announcements should sound a bit more like, this is the last time a person, was not chosen simply because they were not white, or, it's like XYZ has finally stopped excluding Black women judges. I think that that's sort of how I'd want to hear that phrase. The Supreme Court, has finally, stopped excluding Black women judges. So I think that's what we should be happy about, rather than making it sound as if, she was given, this appointment and was not deserving. It's just these terms that we keep using. And I'd really just like us all to stop saying the first Black this or that. It's the last time an institution, stopped barring, Black folks from becoming doctors or lawyers or whatever, what have you. So I just think that in phrasing it that way, we're sort of, not complicit, in, just kind of setting up this thought and this sort of underlying sentiment, that this person finally was able to achieve this because no one before them could have.
I think that's a great point, and something I'll be mindful of. I mean, I don't think we'll ever get that from Biden, because
no, it's too late for him.
Well, also that would it would put back the attention on all of the issues with our country, and then B, wouldn't give him the credit that he so thinks he deserves.
I would so willingly, I would in a moment drag Biden with him. Like that's the thing. Like I'm just so annoyed. Like just get a point. Like because we agree. Like no, you make a point and stick to it.
I don't give Biden that much credit because he had so many amazing Black women to choose from. I mean, like there were, I think maybe 3 or 4 Black women that I kind of had in my head that I had, like when I found out that it was going to be Black women, I was like, there are 3 or 4 that I can think of, and Judge Jackson, Justice Jackson was like the top of my list, but there were others too. So I mean, it's not like he didn't have a lot to work with.
Yeah,
exactly.
The next in the process right now is for her to get sworn into the Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm.
Take the oath of office.
I can't wait to see that.
She's in. It's on and popping. That's it. Like she's just gonna say what she needs to say, and then period. By the Chief Justice is gonna probably have her swearing. Deanne, you get the final word. Thank you, me, not me.
Good evening, everyone. I come here with the somewhat dubious distinction of having read Millie Fuller Jr.'s entire book, The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept.
Drag.
I have also read the United States Constitution, and I have also read the Federalist Papers, whereby James Madison, John Jay, and Alexander Hamilton, who were in the biggest slave state, were busy trying to convince the second biggest slave state, New York, why they should ratify the Constitution. How do I say this? Because I know we have gentlemen who feel very much disrespected, and because they don't feel like they get their thoughts out. But I don't think they understand if you actually know because one thing Neely Fuller Jr. does say in his book, Mr. Fuller said, if you don't understand white supremacy, everything else will confuse you. What happens is you come out in public talking the part that you do understand, but you haven't done the work to understand the system. So when you come up here, we know you're in the confusion stage. And so you repeating confusion would then set up opportunities for other people who are still learning to be more confused. So from someone who's read the Constitution, from someone who's read the Federalist Papers from cover to cover, someone who's actually read Neely Fuller's book from cover to cover, you don't know what you're talking about. Neely Fuller said that Black people should not even come together without an agenda, because by the time he had written that book, we had become so toxic and so easy to distract on sensual pleasures as a community that we should not even come together without an agenda. Which means that if you come up here and you don't have your notes together and you don't have an agenda and you don't have points to go through point to point, and you wasted your time coming on a platform because, there was an agenda. We talked about what we were going to talk about. It's in the title of the video. You don't have the discipline for that code, sir. Neely Fuller would have a very dim view of the manosphere encouraging Black men to go create babies that they have no ability to take care of. Because what you're supposed to do under that code is to be able to train your children. I don't have any authority over you. I have to teach you how to survive. The racists who actually do. But there's certain things in the code I'm going to teach you. But for you to do that, you got to be there in the house with them. So that's just that. All of you gentlemen that think you want to be on that code, you need to read it again. Next, let's just deal with Joe Biden. I despise the man. But if you had read the Federalist Papers, you understand that Joe Biden is doing exactly what the American system needs for him to do. James Madison and Thomas Jefferson had a big argument about this. They were best friends, although they agreed on very little beside Virginian slave owning, but they had these wonderful philosophical arguments about Thomas Jefferson talking about you need to be able to do the Constitution over every 19 years because a new generation of people on the earth. And James Madison said, if you do that, you won't have a country in 20 years. You have to build it for stability. The United States is a center-right country. If the United States is operating the way it was intended to operate, it will always be center, but to the right. Of course, on camera, that's going to look like the left. So here you had someone who had people so far right that he finds good guys among Confederates and neo-Nazis. Joe Biden is there for one purpose, in line for American history and what it was designed to do. Joe Biden has brought the pendulum back to right center. That is all he is ever going to do. That is all he is designed to do. That is why he is there. To expect him to swing the pendulum off to the left so that problems could be solved would be to misunderstand how Madison designed his system. He said, I am designing a system such that if the devil himself were elected, now depending on who you are, some people believe that was Barack Obama, some people believe that was Donald Trump, but he said it would be designed to return to stability even if the devil was elected. Given that in United States terms, that has happened twice in just 12 years, what did you expect to get but a Joe Biden? But of course, if you have not done your reading, if you do not understand the system that you live in, Judge Brown Jackson, Supreme Court Justice Brown Jackson, is Supreme Court Justice. The Constitution, she is going to opine and give her legal opinion about matters of the Constitution. The Constitution does not directly address the definition of men and women. Therefore, as a Supreme Court justice, she should not have ever been asked the question about that because that is not what she covers. She is to go on the measure of the Constitution. If you do not understand the system you live in to understand why you have been played for a plumb fool, pedophilia, same thing. Ain't no way in the world James Madison is going to write something about pedophiles while Sally Hemings was still living in Thomas Jefferson's house. Maybe it should have been addressed, but it was not going to be addressed because that all started when Sally was 14. If you do not know enough history to understand the system you live in, how in the whole insert words I'm not going to use on you right now because we don't do name calling and we don't do curse words up here, but insert anyone that goes with your imagination. How would you expect us to expect you to lead us anywhere? You do not understand the system that you live in.
We can use the word vintage dust.
Well, I've spent so much time having to even put women off this page for using dust and dusties on people. I cannot do that as a moderator because we have to uphold another standard. But the idea is, I'll put it to you this way, because I made this comment publicly in the Discord. What we have is a situation where people come up here wanting to reign in life, and there's nothing wrong than wanting to reign in life. But you have to come to the table with more preparation than a drunk peasant. Drunk, because when you're drunk, your imagination can run a mile, but by virtue of being drunk, you're not able to do any of the things you are ideating about. When you come to discussions about Supreme Court justices and about the American system, and you have wonderful ideas about things that you may have partially read, because again, if anybody who's read Nearly Fuller, you wouldn't come unprepared to a discussion with Black people that have an agenda. You missed that entire chapter. You would not do that.
And on that note, we're going to end and go into the after show. Thank you all for being here. Have a wonderful night. So 3 seconds. I thank you, Deanne. I too read the Federalist Paper and the Constitution. Neely Fuller, I did not. We were having the discussion before we came on in the Discord about me potentially being better at allowing people to speak and understanding that they are from a different vantage point. What I'm not going to do is allow foolishness to continue. But it's just sad because it's like people keep reaching out and saying, you are not letting men speak. But these men come up here and it's like pulling teeth, and then you attack me and then expect to be able to filibuster the entire time. I don't mind being attacked, just FYI. Just answer the question at some point. Just answer the question. So I hope that you guys felt heard. If you didn't, I don't care.
I tried to hear people. I think I did.
Yeah, and I more than that, like I'm actually vindicated, I feel, in my stance based on you, Vanessa, your expression. Because what I saw from you was like, okay, like I don't even want to engage with these people. Like I can't do it. And when I saw that, I'm realizing, and then you called him on and you were like, you're getting questions. It is fine. Like, if you can answer the question, answer it. If you can't, just leave. Seeing you do that made me feel like, all right, good. It's not me. It's not me. It's you. We're breaking up, and it's not me. It's you. So I do really like the fact that you were here today, because like that was validating. Deanne, thank you so much for that. Just that. Thank you. For everyone who came up, I appreciated the contribution, and I do actually believe that. I mean, you guys just heard Deanne. I do believe we're smart people, and so I no longer feel strange and sorry about wanting us to push past our limited knowledge and go really in depth in these discussions that we are having. You are like, I'm okay with you derailing the conversation. Come up and derail it if you want. But please be aware that I'm going to be questioning you. And if you don't have what it takes, don't come on. Like, just sit. You don't even have to watch. Just leave, right? Or you can
just
watch.
admit you don't have. I have never been afraid to admit that I don't have the answer to something. So, like, say you've got this grand ideal of justice, but you don't have any way of implementing it.
Yeah.
Why is that so hard?
Yeah. Yeah, I want more justice. Me too. I don't know how to do it. Girl,
Me
the
either.
greatest minds don't know how to do it. So, great thought. Goodbye. Now, can we celebrate this woman? Because we are all operating. Do you have a job? Do you have a home? Do you have a car? Do you eat food? Oh, so you're operating in the system. Okay, so let me go back to celebrating this woman. Because what you're not going to do is pretending like you were some hermit somewhere. You have internet. It's barely working, but you had internet. So, like, you're operating in the system. We're not playing these foolish games. Like, I'm done. Anyway, I really enjoyed tonight. Deanne, I enjoyed you. Vanessa, thank you so much for being on.
Thanks
I
for
love when you're
having
on.
me. I'm so glad that this is one of the ones I got to be on, because I was so excited. As a Black woman who's an attorney, I'm obviously really inspired by Justice Jackson. So happy to get to talk about her.
Yeah. But we can get you back when we get into some more other topics.
There's some.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about YouTube lingo. You guys I'm learning. I gotta learn more about divesting and swirlers, and I gotta get educated and all that good stuff.
We can do a reaction, because people like the reactions. So we could do a reaction to someone else's video, and you could just react to that.
Okay.
Thank you all. Bye, everyone. I was on time this time.